The White House has finally published ALIENS.GOV, declassified, saying they walk among us. For 60 years, no president has done anything about the aliens in this country. And I am going to say this right off the bat. I was right the whole time. I was right. He's talking about illegal aliens. That's right. ALIENS.GOV is about illegal aliens. The whole website leads you on, dragging it out, and then finally at the bottom, it's like only Donald Trump has taken action against the aliens who are in our classrooms and in our places of work and walking among us and are now being deported back to their home countries. Yeah, aliens.gov is meant to look like space aliens, and the whole thing is just illegal aliens. They were just screwing with everybody. But that being said, there's a new movie coming out called Disclosure Day, and conspiracy theorists believe that there will be actual alien disclosure, so we can at least talk somewhat about all of that. Now, the big news today outside of this really was the most general interest story, to be honest, but Amy Coney Barrett, sitting Supreme Court justice, was swatted. A man was arrested for threatening to murder Erica Kirk. And we have the active insurrection outside of the Newark ICE facility, where employees of this facility have deferred authority to the extremists. Not an exaggeration. There are viral videos showing the employees asking the activists, the insurgents, and the terrorists for permission, calling them up to search the ICE vehicles before being allowed to pass. This is extremely dangerous. I'll put it like that. Extremely dangerous. So I want to talk about that and many, many more big stories as it's getting crazy out there. Before we do, my friends, we got a great sponsor for you. It is Venice.ai. Leading AI models say they don't sell your data. Do you believe them? ChatGPT is the former director of the NSA sitting on its board. Edward Snowden called this a willful, calculated betrayal of the rights of every person on Earth. Leading AI companies are now openly working for the Pentagon. It's getting weird out there. Huh? This is why you guys check out Venice.ai. Think of it as like a VPN for AI. You get anonymous access to GPT, Gemini, and the Claude models, fully private access to leading open source models like GLM, Kimi, and DeepSeek. Venice submits requests on your behalf, so nothing is ever tied to your identity. Your conversations are encrypted and stored only on your device, so no corporation or government can spy on you or use your data for profit. Venice Studio, now available. You see what I'm making all these skateboard videos. It's an all-in-one creative workspace with audio and music generation, video and image generation, latest models like CDance 2.0 currently editing, one subscription for all the best tools and models on the market. It's founded by Eric Voorhees, one of the pioneers of Bitcoin and a privacy advocate. So go to our sponsor here, Venice.ai/Tim, to access the world's leading AI models privately, all in one place. Use code TIM for 20% off any plan. Don't wait to try Venice AI. The longer you wait, the more of a profile these leading AI companies are building on you. Shout out Venice.ai. But also, before we get started, guys, go to Timcast.com and click Join Now. Why? Family. Community. The most important thing in a person's life. Humans live for the human experience. Now, I'm going to remove all of the political stuff from this and give a shout out to Jeremy Boring, who made an interesting point about, we're talking about veganism and environmentalism. And he was explaining that humans live for other humans. We are inspired by, we are driven to pursue endeavors that better the lives of other humans. We fantasize about saving the lives of people we don't even know because we are here for each other. The internet has become a, let's just call it, sad place. Because of the internet, we don't know our neighbors anymore. We don't know who lives next to us. Now, I can't immediately remedy that, but what I can say is for many of you who are looking for community, go to timcast.com and join the Discord where you'll be talking with people you may disagree with, you may agree with, but we are creating a space centered around certain values and ideas. As a member of a community, you can build things, you can change the world, and you have that support group. That's what it was always supposed to be about. We could do things like exclusive video access, and we do, but the real value for all of you is that there is a network of people that are there for you and that you can be there for. And as members of this community, you make this show possible. So join us. Don't just sit idly by, lonely, watching the show by yourself. You get in the Discord and you're hanging out with a ton of people who are talking about the show, the actual voice chats, and then you can even call in and talk to us. Plus, we've got special members-only events, newsletters. We are really trying to make this about building community, and I'll tell you why. We could do a lot of things here, and I'll get a little deep with it because this is more than just the business we operate. What are we here on this earth for? There used to be a great American vision, and we were Americans. We believed in the same things. We viewed the world similarly. We stood side by side. But now we are becoming dejected. We are experiencing social discohesion. To me, the most important thing is family and community. And so that's what I've been working on, my own family and trying to build something as a business that means more than just selling a product. A place where people can hang out, share, and that's really all that matters. You know, I was thinking about it. I don't care about what people are doing in France. I don't care about what people are doing in Russia necessarily. I mean, unless they're funding wars against us and stuff like this. At the end of the day, what really matters is the people we care about, the people around us, and those that share our values and ideas. And we need to have that community space. So join us at Timcast.com. Don't forget to also smash the like button and share this show with everyone you know. Tell them to also join the community and have these debates, have these conversations. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, of course, is Will Chamberlain.
Good to be with you guys. I'm senior counsel of the Article 3 project, but I'm not here in that capacity today because I'm wearing a campaign T-shirt, so you can't.
Yeah, you don't like Thomas Massey, huh?
Wait, did he lose?
Indeed, he did lose.
He lost. Yeah.
Yeah. For those that are just listening, he's wearing an Ed Galrain shirt. Well, he won, you know. So, well, it's good to have you. We have a lot to talk about, of course. Yes. We got the boys hanging out.
What's going on? Was the shirt bought before the primary?
No, I bought the shirt like last week.
I was like, that'd be impressive for Kalshi betting purposes.
No, yeah.
I have concerns about Galrain though because when I went to his farm's Instagram, there were no chickens.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's suspicious.
They were that easy to win your endorsement. I'm sure that somebody got in touch.
Well, you know, Massey's got chickens. Yeah,
7,000 eggs deposited right into your bank.
He's got the Klux capacitor. He built this like automated solar-powered chicken coop system that moves. I mean, it's brilliant. And you know, I have questions. But anyway, Ian's hanging out.
Hey guys, that was what you said, Tim. Is very true about community, man. That's why I started doing YouTube in the first place. I thought, what would Jesus do with this technology? How could he help? And I got scared.
He brought people together.
Well, it does, dude. And in the beginning, I got scared about forming a cult and communism and how cult of personality can breed a communist revolution. But community is the antidote to communism. It really is like a tight community of people. And the way the internet works is you kind of vibrate towards a central focus and you meet people that are like you.
Well,
and you find your significant other. And
I agree with you, but I want to clarify. The cult-like world that exists within a communist system or a cult itself, it's because people don't have community, so they're desperate to say or do whatever it takes to feel that. So a real community where people can actually share ideas, debate each other, and be encouraged to have rational thoughts and disagreements is a remedy for cult and communism.
And other than that, I just want to say howdy to all the cattle ranchers out there that are doing it right. Thank you, God. Thank you for doing this the way you're doing it, because I talk crap about industrial agriculture all that stuff, but if you are a legitimate farmer or a rancher, thank you, God, thank you for being part of this. Awesome.
Yeah, we had a great caller last night who was a legitimate rancher, and he was in the Discord, so you should definitely join the Discord to call in for the after show.
Bro, listen, you got these WEF guys who are like, people shouldn't eat meat, so we should get this tick that makes you allergic to meat, and I'm just like, I don't believe anything they say about meat. You know, when they're like, did you know that farmers like mercilessly beat the cows? I'm like, I don't believe you. Because you are advocating for forcing people to develop allergies to meat. But anyway, let's get to the news. We'll get into all that stuff. Carter, of course, pressing all the buttons. We've got this, my friends, from whitehouse.gov/aliens. In fact, if you go to ALIENS.GOV, they walk among us. I knew it! And it says declassified. And it was funny because they dropped this today. And actually, the people at the White House, they reached out to our communications people like, hey, we released this. And I get a text message with the link, and I immediately say to my wife, I'm like, oh, the White House has just confirmed aliens exist. And then I wanted to know what my wife was going to say when I told her this. And she just chuckled and, oh, yeah. Like, this was the idea that if they ever did actually announce aliens were real, no one would care. And then I said, well, they published the website, but I haven't read it yet. And then as soon as I opened it up, I was like, it's illegal aliens. But this is what we were saying before. When they first registered aliens.gov and it became a big news story, we said on this show, it's either going to be just like generic UFO disclosure, but I'm willing to bet it's going to be like illegal aliens, right? That's Trump's whole thing. So they run this gag. Take a look. They walk among us. For 60 years, the U.S. government has kept a closely guarded secret. Aliens have been walking among us, living in our neighborhoods, interacting with us in our daily lives. They've shopped in the same stores, attended the same class as our children, and lived seemingly normal human existences. With one exception, they do not belong here. Millions arrived under the cover of darkness and embedded themselves directly into our society. Countless presidents, congressmen, and senior officials knew exactly what was happening. Instead of protecting American citizens, they chose to cover it up and even accelerate the invasion. Until one man finally had the courage to tell the truth. That's right. Bold, unapologetic, and unafraid, President Trump was the first to call out the real danger aliens pose to every American family. The truth is no longer out there. It is here right now. 3,130,217 encounters. Alien arrest map live. Indeed. Martinsburg, West Virginia, criminal charges, assault, burglary, damage to property, dangerous drugs, countries of origin, Afghanistan. So I wonder if all of the UFO alien talk was actually just to generate a bunch of buzz as a joke, because I just want to say, this doesn't help them in any meaningful way. It's not advocacy against illegal immigration. It does generate attention toward the issue. Maybe they were waiting to drop this around the time like something bad with the Iran war was happening or something. But I see this as kind of just they made a joke.
If they were really smart, they were sitting around a boardroom like, all right, we're gonna put out the alien thing. Either we're gonna psyop the planet and control these people with fear. If that doesn't work, we'll just make it an illegal alien website.
Brilliant PR, man.
That probably unironically is the strat.
I mean, I think that, the whole, Area 51, my understanding is it's actually just a military base. They don't want anybody going near. So they're like, aliens.
Yeah.
Right. But they're like, no, actually, we just do secret things. I think they planned like the bin Laden raid there or something. They built the model of his house, that kind of. So you need places that nobody wants to go anywhere near that are owned by the government.
Right.
Aliens seem like a good.
And after that whole Chinese weather balloon thing, it was so embarrassing that they need like the UFOs for plausible deniability. Like, oh, we don't know what it is. That's
one of my favorite conspiracy theories, of course, is Terra Infinita. Are you familiar with that one? So, or Greater Earth theory. Have you ever heard this one? No. I say that very carefully because there's Crater Earth. Okay, let's have some fun with it, boys.
Crater Earth's delusional. Crater Earth's where it's at.
Do you know what Crater Earth is?
It's just a bunch
of the
gobbler.
Crater Earth conspiracy theory is that the moon is a reflection of Earth and that the world as we know it exists within one of the craters on the moon that we're looking at. And there's an ice wall and all this whatever nonsense. It's like Terra Infinita is that there's this gigantic flat plane with a whole bunch of like ice walled in communities controlled by aliens or something. I don't know. Greater Earth is that there is a spherical planet, the continents that we know. It's on a round planet, but it's only a small piece of the planet and surrounded by an ice wall. We are kept in and kept as slaves. I love this one because now it's tying into one of these Charlie Kirk conspiracy theories, which is there is a new Charlie Kirk conspiracy theory that he's actually on the island of Valhalla in Greater Earth, where our governmental elites go once they retire from office and leave. And we are all slaves trapped within the inner continents and the ice wall. And so I saw this video where they were like, remember when Kash Patel said, I'll see you in Valhalla? And then they showed like the Tyler Robinson image where he's looking at a computer and the computer has an image of an island with a mountain called Valhalla or whatever. Right. And so they're saying that Charlie Kirk's actually still alive. He escaped to outside, he elevated out of the inner continents. Now he lives in a place called Valhalla where there's regular people, and Kash is going to go there too.
Yeah, like Kash dropped and he said like, see you in Valhalla, and then he got pulled aside after the speech. And they're like, dude, why'd you say this? Like, I don't know. It slipped.
No one will believe it anyway.
Yeah. Maybe they'll just hand wave away.
These conspiracy theories seem very inefficient, right? Like there's a way in which like it's much more complicated to rule over humanity than it used to be.
Right.
Like, couldn't you just do something Matrix-like where you just put us all on a battery farm? Like if that's the plan to make it.
Well, the idea is that humans revolt. So if you keep them ignorant, the saying is from Harriet Tubman, I freed many slaves. I would have freed many more if only they knew they were slaves. So the conspiracy theory is that we are the lesser slave peasant humans trapped within the inner continents of an ice wall. Our powerful elites are they liaise between Greater Earth and us and keep us in check. That's why our politicians never do what we want. That's why they won't pass the SAVE Act. See, now you're a believer.
And they
now
drop,
he believes it.
And they drop super helpful clues, like just to kind of spice things up. Like the Egyptian planes are coming in. They're like, should we not appear on the radar? And they're like, no, this is like give them a little taste here of what we're up to. And like, I like that. Drop a little nugget.
Is the ice wall like an extrapolation of the firmament? Is that where this all? Because I hear a lot about ice walls and different conspiracy theories. But
well, there's a somewhat of an ideological relation, but they're different things.
Yeah, they're like liquid. I think
because the ice wall isn't just part of one world view, right? Flat earthers think the oceans are held in by a great wall of ice and the governments of the world are stopping you from going there or whatever.
Maybe back in the day, after the flood, there was a great ice age. Like we're at the tail end of an ice age right now, in an interglacial period. But maybe they were literally walled in by ice by like 15,000 years ago or something. And so now that story's persisted. Like in the North Atlantic, frozen all the way down, and they couldn't get out of Europe.
If you were a government doing that, you just stop funding like space travel, right? Wouldn't you?
Well, that's the conspiracy theory. There is no space travel.
There is no space travel.
All private companies, satellites, everything. It's all fake.
It's all fake.
I'll keep you guessing.
Gosh, again, very
Elon Musk, the whole thing. It's just they made it up. There's stars.
Why'd they let the Republicans win? They could have screwed over Elon, and
because they're all in on it.
That's why they named him Trump.
Yeah, that's why they won't pass the SAVE Act.
Right.
They're like, no, we can't do that.
I feel like there's a simpler explanation for why the SAVE Act isn't passing.
Simulation theory.
What is it?
Filibuster.
The funny thing is, they wouldn't actually need to do or not do anything. They could pass any law they want. If there was truly absolute conspiratorial control of everything, they'd just tell you whatever you wanted to hear.
Do we want to talk about why the SAVE Act is not passing? Is this actually a big thing?
What's up?
Okay. Obviously it's the filibuster, right?
Yeah, but they could just...
And the question is, why don't they get rid of the filibuster?
Exactly.
Right? And the reason is actually pretty simple, even among like sort of more conservative Republicans in the Senate. And this is coming from talking to senior officials who basically say, if you got rid of the filibuster, you would be more likely to get a broad amnesty than you would be to get the SAVE Act passed. Meaning you do not have 53 votes for the SAVE Act even in a world where you do it. But you know what you have 53 or 54 votes for? Open borders, right? And that's
in a world, but the argument is if you pass the SAVE Act now, you prevent them from taking power, and if they take power, they're going to grant amnesty anyway.
Well, I guess my point is like the conservative, the filibuster effectively insulates. There's a lot of reasons why the filibuster stays in place, mainly because we worry that Democrats will obviously get rid of the filibuster first thing. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. After talking to people, I'm not so sure they will, because I think there are a decent number of moderate senators on the Democrat side who are scared about what Republicans will end up doing with the filibuster. It'll just like lead to this ping-ponging of policy back and forth. But it's, that's the core reason. There are not 60 votes, and there's I think they polled the Republican Senate caucus on getting rid of the filibuster, like informally. And my understanding was that poll showed that they got maybe 1 in 4 yes to getting rid of the filibuster. A good 3/4 of the caucus.
I've heard a lot of people speculate that part of the reason the SAVE Act is getting held up is because it's something that a lot more establishment candidates will utilize some sort of maybe more nefarious, shady election tactics to push through primaries.
It's really, there are just a few, the squishier Republicans don't want to do it. Like Mitch McConnell has made trying to keep the federal government out of state elections a big part of his project for a long time, because previously it was Democrats trying to interfere in Republican elections to make them more favorable.
I really don't care about the SAVE Act at this point, because I think we're beyond this as a country. I think we are beyond the point where procedural victories matter.
I have a thesis about this. I think that here's the reason not to do it just for the SAVE Act. If you get rid of the filibuster, it would be a very big one-time event that where Republicans have the chance to do a whole bunch and put in place a huge program with a 50-seat majority, right? Like, finally, we've gotten rid of the 60-vote rule in the Senate. We can do a whole bunch of stuff. Why would we just do one thing? And if we're only ready to do just one thing,
what I'm saying is when you look at the funding, the DNC is $3 million in debt. They got $14 million cash on hand and $17 million in debt. Republicans have $200 million, and big Democrat donors are not funding the party as a whole. Mm-hmm. They're either targeting specific races or they're funding activism, NGOs, and extremism. I think that many of the high-profile Democrat-aligned donors have realized institutional paths to victory are gone. Republicans are going for institutional victories. They're going for redistricting. They're financing races and the Republican Party itself. And Democrats are funding Cuba trips and Antifa and violence. When you take a look at what's going on with Newark, where you get federal employees deferring their authority to the extremists, it looks like the strategy among the elites on the liberal side are saying we need to go hot in terms of winning power. And Republicans are saying we're going to win legitimate institutional authority. So this is why I say I don't know that the SAVE Act matters as much right now because Democrats are not putting their resources into those races.
I don't know that the SAVE Act would, how would the SAVE Act affect resources? The SAVE Act is all about.
No. The question is, what are the Democrats applying what are they focused on in order to win power? It's not electoral victories.
No, I think not. Certainly, I think the institutional Democratic Party and Democratic donors are. I think the donor problem is actually
they're split.
Well, there's two classes of donors. There's the activist donors, the Neville Singham types. They're not really donating to the Democrat Party because they'd rather fund
communism.
And then there's the sort of classic institutional Democratic donors, many of whom are Jews and are really not happy about the way things have been going in the Democratic Party and are not opening their checkbooks.
Centrally, the Democrats are not, as a party, raising money. The donors are not interested in a centralized institutional Democratic power anymore. Yeah. So if we're breaking this down, Republicans are basically all saying, give the party money, give Trump money, we're going to win the midterms. Democrats are split, where some are saying, let's make sure this one guy wins. The others are saying, let's have Antifa march to the streets and bash skulls. So my point ultimately is, the strategy of Democrats right now for the midterms is not, we are going to get out the vote. It's terrorize, vandalize. And the Republicans are going procedural. That's why I say I don't know the SAVE Act matters as much right now. The Republicans, I think with Virginia, so Trump shutters USAID, cuts off funding for a lot of this circuitous, NGO illicit funding. Democrats, deep state, I should call it, are routed, go to Virginia, try to shore up their defenses, get crushed again. And I think they've basically resigned themselves to, we are not going to beat Trump at this game. I don't know if you saw the Trump won that lawsuit, or not that he won the lawsuit, but the judge sided with Trump on the executive order over the post office. You saw this?
Over the post office? Is this you mean the citizenship question on the census? Is that
No. Trump signed the executive order instructing the post office not to deliver mail-in ballots to people who are ineligible to vote.
Okay.
Creating a de facto voter list.
Was this like yesterday? Was this the thing?
I think 2 days ago, I believe.
Was it 2 days ago?
Something like that. It was this week.
I thought it was yesterday or today.
I wouldn't read too much into that. I think he just denied it because it was not.
No.
It's
amazing.
It's a ripeness issue, right?
The judge said there is no relief to be provided because Trump hasn't done anything yet.
Right. That's ripeness. That's what that's.
You know why that's retarded and hilarious at the same time? Mm-hmm. Because that was the basic argument used against Trump in 2020 when Republican groups and the Trump sphere were suing over the changes to the electoral system.
Correct.
These judges kept saying,
not ripe yet.
They haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
So how do we remedy no damages? And it's funny because the Republicans are like, they changed the rules illicitly and it's going to have an impact on the election. And the judges would go, well, if it does, we can then provide relief after the fact. And then what happened when it did have an impact and the Republicans sued? What did the judges say then?
And it was moot because it was too late to do anything about it.
It already happened. We can't do anything about it now. This is insanity.
A legal evolution where you can have a preemptive what did you call it? A preemptive, what do you call this thing? A remedy? A preemptive remedy that triggers when...
you can get an injunction, right? To stop somebody from doing something. You can get declaratory relief, which is where the judge declares some legal state of affairs, like declares your statement not defamatory. But
why were they not going for injunctions when they were trying to get?
Well, I think they were trying to go for an injunction. They just didn't get an injunction because the judge said the dispute was not ripe, right? So
let's. Here's the analogy that I give. Mm-hmm. So there's two little boys. There's Jimmy and Johnny. And Jimmy's got the hammer cracked back, and he's looking at the guy, and Johnny says, Dad, take the hammer from him before he hits me. And the dad goes, well, he didn't hit you yet. So I can't just take his hammer away. Then Jimmy cracks Johnny over the head with the hammer. And Johnny goes, Dad, help. He hit me with the hammer. And he goes, well, he already hit you. I mean, there's no point in taking the hammer now, right? That's what the courts were doing in 2020. Now, the funny thing is, Trump signs an executive order saying to the post office, do not deliver mail-in votes to people, mail-in ballots to people ineligible to vote. This liberal group sued, saying that would create de facto voter lists. It's a violation of privacy rights. And the judge said, I can't grant relief to something that hasn't happened yet. Now, here's the problem. When it comes time to deliver those mail-in votes about a month out from the election, they'll go out, have to collect the evidence of damages or of something having occurred, then file a suit. It's going to take too long. And then once the election's done, the courts then go, well, it already happened.
So I didn't read this decision. I wish I had before. So is what is the harm being alleged to the voters?
The harm is like a privacy violation. And
Okay.
the judge said two things. First, the government already has this information available to them. Aggregating it into one location is not a violation of your rights.
Correct.
However, it doesn't matter anyway because Trump hasn't done anything yet. He gave an instruction. There has not been any visible damages. When the Trump administration takes this action and something tangibly occurs, then we can have a discussion about potential.
That's
relief.
actually right, because I mean, from the judge's perspective, I think you have articulated the way that rightness and mootness can be abused, right? Like the idea that holding the hammer, maybe you could say the dispute's not right. The guy hits you in the head, maybe you could say the dispute's moot, but then there's no relief, which seems unjust.
That's what they do.
But if in a world where the harm alleged is this privacy violation potential from your data being collected and aggregated, the aggregation of your data, as you say, is not an abuse in of itself. If they actually come into court and say, look, our data has been aggregated and the government is now planning to do X, Y, Z with this data, then you're a little more in the realm of ripeness where the dispute is actually.
The threat itself, not a ripeness, doesn't make it ripe.
Well, they're not just going to consider, like, the court's not going to operate on like a hypothetical. Basically, what you're saying is right now it's a hypothetical problem.
Here's a better way. So the way I described it, with the guy having the hammer clearly about to strike the
I
other
would have been
kid,
punished for it, by the way, as a kid.
Indeed.
Holding the hammer and threatening someone.
And this is the idea of 2020 when the Republicans sued saying, hey, they changed the rules of the election unconstitutionally. This will cause damages, and they're correct. But let's try another analogy. Jimmy is holding a hammer, and he's hammering a nail, making a little birdhouse. Johnny sees the hammer and says, Dad, take his hammer from him before he hits me. And the dad says, he's not threatening you at all. He's just hammering a nail into a birdhouse. Mm-hmm. That's a different situation.
What if Johnny,
There's no perceived threat. You don't know there will be damage. That's the honest approach to ripeness, I think.
Ripeness is the name of this.
What if the hammer wielder says, he's hammering the nail. He's like, Johnny, one day I'm going to hit you with this hammer. Does that create he's not posturing?
And this is where it's interpretation of the judge. And in 2020, this is what we were dealing with. The judges were like, well, I mean, they haven't damaged you yet. And the Republicans were like, the changing of the rules. Then after the election happened and they filed a lawsuit, a lot of these courts and these judges said, well, the election's already over. What are you going to do about it? It's insane. It's just pure insanity.
Yeah, that's an abuse of ripeness and mootness, right? Like,
let's do this. Civil War, my friends. Let's jump to the story from NBC News.
Let's make it a hard seat.
Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett's home targeted in apparent swatting incident. What was really crazy about this is the story broke earlier today, and no one picked it up for like 12 hours. So I tweeted this. I tweeted out this video showing the 911 call where someone was like, Amy Coney Barrett was just swatted. And then I saw Nick Sorter tweeted out the same thing. And I said, do we have any other source on this? Like, no disrespect to the dude who broke the story, but I like to have 3 confirmations. Nick Sorter posting the same video as me is not a confirmation. I want to see, NBC or some other outlet. Not that I think they're trustworthy, but at least they'll be like, we contacted police in Fairfax County, Virginia, who confirmed this. They say officers immediately coordinated with Supreme Court police personnel assigned to the residence to determine the report was fictitious. This is the state of this country. In Newark, far-left extremists are outside an ICE facility, and the employees of the ICE facility are asking them for permission. This should not be tolerated. Have you seen the video? There's like a security guy
in New Jersey. I mean, not the most recent.
So a video from a few days ago. I don't know if he's a security contractor, a direct employee of DHS, but a vehicle is coming out. He walks up to the crowd and he points at him and fans her over, and she comes over to search the vehicle. Then when she confirms the vehicle doesn't have illegal immigrants in it, she tells everybody to clear out of the way. It's insanity that a federal employee or contractor would defer his authority to the far left extremists in front of the building. I warn you guys, government is confidence. I have talked about this quite a bit. When regular people start to feel that the true authority lies with the insurrectionists and the terrorists, this is when you get civil war. The question people have asked since the conversation of civil wars come up is, who are the factions? Who will be fighting? That's ridiculous. And when I would say something like, well, you got the far left, and you've got Trump supporters, they'd say, and literally, I was told this by this DC political consultant guy, lobby guy. He's like, dude, activists fighting each other in the street is not a civil war. What happens when federal law enforcement defer the authority to that group? What happens one day when these leftists buy uniforms? What happens if one day a leftist shows up at your house, knocks on the door in with a button-up shirt and khakis with a badge, and they say, DSA guard, I have a warrant to search your home? Now, we all watching this would be like, what? DSA guard is not a real law enforcement agency. You can't come to my house. How many regular people would just not know and be like, oh, you have a warrant? Okay, I guess. And just let them come in and do whatever they want. Now, that's an extreme scenario, of course. But I stress this. We're already at the point where we saw a video of a worker at the ICE facility allowing far-left extremists to search the vehicles leaving the property. This is where it begins. If the question asked by the general population, who controls the threat of violence against me? If it is no longer the federal government, then they don't care what the federal government says. And if it is Antifa, then Antifa becomes the government.
I noticed, I think it was Harmeet Dillon. Somebody, they're issuing, no, it wasn't Dillon. Somebody was, I don't think it was, issuing like the government to go track people's X accounts now. A couple people that have indicated that they're going to be threatening or had said threatening things or done threatening things. So so it's like, it seems like the government's getting ready to crack down if something like that were to happen and groups of terrorists, angry mobs were masking up or arming up or uniforming up, that they're going to go snatch people out of houses one night.
Well, they already got the foreign terror designation, and that gives the DOJ massive tools in their toolbox to really target these people.
I think I'm confident in DOJ doing this. I mean, I was disappointed recently. I don't know if you followed this, but if you remember Kat Abu Ghazaleh? Sorry, do you remember Kat Abu Ghazaleh?
Yeah.
Abu Ghazaleh.
She ran for office?
I think. I don't know.
Right. So she was indicted.
Abu Gabu.
It's like a slur.
She was indicted for. She was like a Chicago House candidate. She's like a TikToker. She was like a Chicago House candidate.
She obstructed that vehicle.
Got indicted for it.
She got hit by it.
No, she didn't get. Well, that was she. Didn't
she got shoved. She got
shoved. But there was a different time where she was like banging on the hood.
Yep.
She got indicted for it. That just got dropped because there was misconduct by some of the line attorneys in that U.S. Attorney's office.
I'm done, bro.
That's so infuriating. But that said, I hate to bring that up. I'm just still bothered by it.
I'll finish your point. I'm sorry.
But I guess my point is, I'm confident that the Trump DOJ is taking all this stuff seriously. I mean, since Blanche took over, the amount of action has been substantial.
It's fair. I'll keep some of the hope alive, but I got to be honest. I'm not the only one who feels this way. They've gotten. Look, there's been tremendous victories. I don't want to downplay everything. Yeah. Shuttering USAID was massive, but holy crap, you can't get a slap on the wrist even for some chick banging on a federal vehicle. What is going on, man?
Yeah. It was just some line attorney who was really a Democrat. I think after she left the office, she went and worked for Dick Durbin or something. The problem, I mean, DOJ is just fixing DOJ across the entire country is just this massive problem. It's it's a giant, slow moving steam.
Because we
got good people at the top now.
We just don't have any brutal guys. I'm sorry. Trump is not a brutal guy. He's just not. That's what.
Actually, this is very true.
That's why the joke is, Lord, give me the Trump that Democrats claim he is, because he's not. No. He's a braggart. He bloviates a bit, but he's actually just kind of moderate. He's stronger than the Republicans we've seen for a long time, but he is not the iron fist guy. Democrats, now these people are tough, And it's funny because anybody who wants to say, oh, Democrats are pussies, bro, they locked up J6ers in solitary. They tortured people. They will crush your nuts in a vice. That's what they are willing to do for power. Donald Trump and the Republicans, either they're unwilling or unable.
They're doing like a hunger strike at the ICE facility, which is like the funniest.
Because they wanted tacos.
Well, they can just go home.
I
they have the key to the jailhouse
Tate's laughing.
door.
It's not a joke.
You literally
but
can just go home.
It's like we're trying to send them to Taco Land.
Yeah.
Right. Mad about it.
Like you can just
Bro,
go home.
the detainees at the ICE facility are upset because they want ethnic food from where they come from, which is not just tacos, but one of the things requested was literally tacos. And Mark Wayne Mullen was like, we want them to go home and they can enjoy all of that food in their home country.
Yeah, it's like so true. White people food's horrible. You would hate it. You should probably go home.
One of the things I saw, there was a really heartwarming story about a Denver illegal alien mother who turned herself in to be self-deported or to be deported by ICE because she was sitting around and her partner had been deported, the breadwinner, and she was like, well, we're broke and miserable. We don't have any money. We got to go home. So can you give us the free flight and we'll all go home? And I thought, oh, perfect. That's exactly how the system should work.
Yeah. You called it a sad story. That sounds like
no, I said heartwarming.
Wholesome.
I said
heartwarming.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a wholesome story, right? Because that should
absolutely.
be the incentive structure, right? Like if you're an illegal alien in this country, you should be broke and miserable.
And
I was thinking, this is my new idea,
broke
right?
and miserable.
Like but like here's the other side of it. And this is maybe the more controversial take, is that I think that the self-deportation process should be unbelievably pleasant. It should just be like, you sign up for CBB Home. Oh, would you like a 3-star hotel for a few days? Would you like,
caviar with that?
Would you like a concierge, a nice concierge to come by and help you pack your things?
Give them a Trump bathroom. Well, no, because it's true. Because it's like, people will retract when they hear that and they go, well, they've already, but it's like when you realize how much money it costs.
How much money it costs to
incarcerate these people, et cetera, like a couple grand. That's way pennies on the dollar.
I figured it out. We got Hollywood all wrong. You know how they're making these movies where like white people are all bad and like always the villains?
Yeah.
They're doing that so that people around the world don't want to come here.
Oh, it's true. It's horrible. There's like Klansmen everywhere. I mean, it is.
That's what we got to do. We got to make a movie where it's like about like the hero is some like 5'6", portly like landscaper, illegal immigrant, but just like everywhere he goes, like everyone is in the Klan. And it's just, it's a struggle every day. And his dream is to escape America and go back to Taco Land.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd have to have him really want to be here for like 3/4 of the movie. And then at the end of the movie, he finally decides he's got to get out. And then he escapes.
Right.
And that's like a heroic journey.
And the concierge, I mean, look, the people have been talking about for years, we need to build a patronage network for conservatives. The liberals, they have all these patronage networks for their people. We could provide these people with MyPillows. That'd be really nice. Like on your flight back, we'll do a MyPillow neck braid, like a neck pillow. I think that's a win.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean,
it's
a perfectly reasonable way to spend money. It's cheaper than enforcement, right? No, like trying to pull somebody out of their house is more expensive than getting them to turn themselves in.
And the courts,
there's only
we got to make the propaganda, man.
And like, not to sound like super gay libtard here, but it's like, to be fair, these people came in with the door wide open, at the red carpet rolled out. It's like, you can make them. I mean, it doesn't have to be like completely brutal. I mean, I know that's what people want, but it's like, that's how you can guarantee the heat gets cranked up.
It should be brutal if we have to come find you.
Exactly. That's like, that's how you get a million Abregos. And Trump has explained this. Tom Homan has explained this. They've all explained, like, look, if you want mass deportations, the better it goes, the more comfortable everyone is, the more people you can get out. It's when it gets like violent and brutal, which it's like sometimes you have to go there, but that's how you create a million Abregos. You get wedge issue after wedge issue.
I know how we can solve this problem overnight. We make cilantro illegal.
No, yeah.
And they just leave. They're like, I ain't gonna live in the country that doesn't allow cilantro.
My mother-in-law would love that. She hates cilantro.
Me too. That's what I'm saying.
Cilantro exemplifies the demographic change in this country. Because hear me out. This is true. This is etymology 101. Yeah. Is if you ask anyone who's like over 70, and also if you ask any British person, they'll call it coriander.
Indeed.
And then as soon as a lot of Mexicans came here and they use it heavily in their cuisine, people that were maybe under 60 were introduced to it for the first time. They're like, what's it called? Oh, it's called cilantro.
Yes, but
what's this coriander in it?
But I believe that coriander includes the stem or something like that.
Something like that. But like if you ask a British person, they're like, I don't know what cilantro is. And then they're like, oh, coriander. Yeah.
Oh, the seeds and the leaves. The coriander is the seeds.
What we need is brutality. And I'm not saying like dudes to go beat people. I'm saying we need we need brutal political leaders that. The Democrats recently called Stephen Miller like an ugly, what do they call him? Like an ugly ass bitch or something like that?
An ugly F.
Yeah, something like that. And I'm like, that's not brutality. That's just cringe. Brutality is like, I'll tell you what brutal is. Did you guys see this viral video where there's this like really big jacked guy, and he walks around supermarket parking lots, and he grabs, some guy leaves a shopping cart in the wrong area, so he grabs it and walks over and puts it behind the car, and then just walks to the driver's seat, and he's all jacked, and the guy's like, "Can I help you?" And he goes, "The cart does not go there." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. I'll put it back." Like, he didn't have to do anything other than just say it was in the wrong spot, but he looks like I will punch you in the mouth. We need leaders that just act that way. We need Donald Trump to be a little bit more serious. He insults people. We find it funny. We like that he pushes back. We need a DOJ that just arrests and charges people and gets the job done. Stern, cold, you are going to jail. And with respect to Blanche, he has done a pretty good job for the short amount of time he's been in.
Well, and that's the thing with Blanche, too, is like, no one really knows much about him. And that's kind of what you want from your DOJ guy. You kind of want him to be a bit mysterious, have a bit of aura to him. Because Pam Bondi, she was talking to him. She was out in the open a lot. And she was like, everyone knew all these narratives about her and everyone had their mind made up. You kind of want this like backroom kind of guy who's just, settling scores, getting business done behind the scenes. I don't think I could even, I've heard Todd Blanche speak, but I can't tell you that much about the guy. And it's like, well, yeah, because he kind of understands. Part of the DOJ is you got to have.
He was just a practicing lawyer.
Yeah, you got to have a bit of, there's got to be a separation between you and the people to conduct.
Also, we just got to ban social media. Have you guys seen that there's a viral video? I can't remember who posted it, but they said something like social media influencers should be arrested. And they posted a video of this black dude walking into like a burrito store, and he's going like this and like dancing. And there's like 12 cameras around, and he's just dancing. And then he gets the burrito and he makes a crazy face, and then he bites it. And like, you see this video and you're like, I think we need to mercilessly beat social media influencers. I'm joking. Calm down, YouTube. But the thing about social media that I think, aside from like the Elsagate degree of stuff, that's like the algorithmic brain melting. I'm sitting there I like to scroll Instagram, just see like what's being recommended and stuff. You guys ever go to like experimental comedy shows by chance?
I used to. Dada. I was all into that.
So you go to these open mic comedy shows, and what a lot of these comedians do is they're trying new material, and they want a crowd that's warmed up, and they try to do weird things that sometimes, like most of them aren't even funny.
Yeah.
They just want to experiment and see what works. So, in LA, I remember, I can't remember what I'm not a big into comedy, but I was talking to some friends who did comedy, and they were like, "Oh yeah, when you go to that, venue where they do open mics, it's never funny. You'll go in and sit down, you'll get a drink, and you'll hang out, and it's people experimenting." And I was like, do people just say ridiculously offensive things? And they're like, yeah, like a guy will show up and just start throwing racial slurs around. And it's like not even a joke. He'll just start insulting the audience. They're trying to see, does this work? Will it work with the crowd? That's what's happening on social media right now. There's a whole bunch. So I already described the problem of imitation where everybody makes the same video. But there's a bunch of influencers that are trying to do random and weird things to see what works.
Yeah, and there are some people that are doing legitimate high quality beneficial things. That's the problem with like banning social media or bringing the hammer down on influencers as a monolith.
And them all, lock them up.
But I thought about like I think about the brutality thing because like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, before the internet, you could like go into St. Louis, send the feds in there and rack it up. But like now with all these cell phones, you'd have to knock out the power supply of a city, maybe shut off their water, and do like an EMP blast over the city. You'd have to maintain an EMP thing, but then they're still going to smuggle video. You'd have to shut off their electronics in order to do this.
I'm not literally suggesting we ban the internet. I'm just insulting influencers and modern culture.
The whole story about like brutality, I feel like it wouldn't work because the communist revolution needs a brutal enemy. They need Trump to be brutal in order for the people to rally. As long as he's moderate, they won't.
No, I would argue that the people are starving because the leader is negligent. That was the message of Animal Farm. The Farmer Jones wasn't doing his job to make sure the citizens of the farm were being taken care of. So when people see far-left extremists getting away with bloody murder, they don't turn to Trump and say, save me. They say, there's no confidence in that system, and it breaks apart. This is the point that I'm warning about. If Donald Trump's administration, if the perceived brutal guy can't solve the problem of the extremism, regular people stop having fear or confidence in that system.
I would hope that the president would be like, arm yourself. You need to protect yourself if there's going to be a riot outside.
Unfortunately, you go to jail when you do that.
The president, well, that's a problem.
Bro, if you live in Newark, New Jersey, You will go to prison.
But if the president brings the hammer down, we're toast. The whole country will.
What does that mean?
It'll be an uprising, a communist
incorrect.
uprising in the country.
You're wrong.
You know how many people are waiting for Trump? They want him to become brutal.
Why was Tsar
That's
Nicholas
called-
and his family overthrown?
Because
Was he a brutal dictator?
No, he was a nobody. He was
negligent.
He was invisible.
And not, it agreed.
He sat inside.
He was not doing the job
That was
to keep the people
pre-internet.
safe.
I mean, Trump's definitely not invisible. He's not like a nobody.
Okay, so to the point you were making, where you made the argument, if Trump was brutal, you'd get a communist uprising.
Yeah.
Communist uprisings emerge when there is no strong leadership.
But we have a strong leader. He's just not brutal.
No, we
He's
don't.
definitely strong. It's Donald Trump. He's
No,
immensely
I
strong.
disagree.
He
No,
took
he's not.
Venezuela. He's about to take Cuba.
There is strength in that, but Donald Trump domestically, as it pertains to the far left rampaging around, rioting, they couldn't even get Abu Ghazala in jail.
If you're too strong, you become brittle. You need a balance of strength.
Okay, but once again, we've already made the point that communist uprisings happening when the leaders are weak.
I just don't think he's weak. I do agree that he's not brutal. I think
Again,
he's-
Tsar Nicholas was not taking care of his country in a way that the people of Russia did not feel that they had. Look, right now, gas is mid-grade gas is $5 a gallon.
I think what happened is Lenin in Russia became more popular than the Tsar Nicholas. There's nobody more popular than Donald Trump right now.
Well, I will give you this. There is no one on earth who has the degree of political influence of Trump. It is insane. Look at this man's shirt. The Edgar Rain shirt.
Yeah, who is this guy?
I still think you're trolling.
Massey is one of the most, listen, this is important. Massey is one of the most popular members of Congress, period. Nationally, internationally, he is very well known.
1.5 million followers.
Yeah, big.
He had 10 million. He had like 15 million of his own, right? People
And
talk about-
Donald Trump and his circle made a decision, and Massey lost.
The problem is when Trump's out of office, there might be someone that's more popular than the next president. Because Marco Rubio ain't it. I mean, I like him, but he's not that popular.
I think we have already seen the lessons of leadership over the past 10 years when Democrats ran roughshod over this country, arrested Trump's lawyers, put J6 in solitary. No one rose up against them.
Well, we stood up for those people.
We voted.
I mean, we talked about it.
We got a new administration, and now all those people are getting investigated down in Florida. I mean,
Indeed.
I think you're overstating how weak President Trump is. I mean, there's part of this is systemic, right? The way our Constitution is structured is it gives the president an enormous amount of authority in foreign affairs and very limited and constrained authority domestically, right? That's just the nature of how our government is structured.
Let me just say it real quick like this. They accused him of rape falsely.
Now they're investigating the person who made that
Yeah,
accusation.
for perjury. For perjury. Alex Jones, his company was still
on
destroyed.
tax charges. You know,
Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I got to be honest with you guys. If Donald Trump intervened to help save Alex Jones, Jones would be diehard Trump the rest of his life. And so I will say that.
Could though. I don't think you have the legal authority to.
Did the Democrats have the legal authority to accuse him of fraud, to accuse him of falsifying business records, to charge him with felonies that didn't exist with no underlying crime? I mean, this is insanity.
You have. I mean, that doesn't quite work because I mean, theoretically, I guess, is there some crime he could go after the people who brought a civil suit against him? Right? That do you want Donald Trump to prosecute the plaintiffs in the?
My point is this: do you think the civil fraud charges against Trump were legitimate?
No, of course not.
Do you think the felony charges were legitimate?
No, of course not.
So we have a president who is incapable of acting outside of legitimacy against an enemy who acts outside of legitimacy. How do you win a game of Monopoly against someone who's actively cheating?
I mean, I think the first answer to that is that the reason, and I speak for someone who worked for the DeSantis campaign, a big reason Donald Trump is president is because they tried all that stuff in 2023, 2024.
What, like, who tried what stuff?
The left with 4 indictments in 4 different jurisdictions. They tried the whole lawfare campaign.
I disagree. I think the reason that Trump ended up winning was because Biden was whacked out of his mind.
That's a big part of it.
And
too,
when that debate happened, regular people right now are concerned about the price of gas.
Okay.
It's the economy, stupid, right? It tends to be these things.
The gas was sky high on election day, 2024.
Indeed, and right now mid grade is $4.90. I think the average price is $4.42 for low grade. Mid grade's $4.90, $4.92, and a premium is $5.31. That's apocalyptic. However,
Apocalyptic's a little much. I mean,
$5 gas.
I mean, the things we have short memories. We weren't alive in the 70s. Right, like
I was.
No, of course, but it's all relative.
But
listen.
conscious,
I
right?
mean, the British
tail end.
At the very tail end.
But I understand, but it's all relative, right? Like, I was talking to my friend who was complaining about the economy, and I was like, well, put it in perspective, man. The GDP here is still 5 times that of like any country in South America or most of the world. And the poorest person in America today is living better than some of the wealthiest 200 years ago. You can get a cheeseburger whenever you want. It's all relative, but people are still unhappy because it's relativity. So the advantage that Trump has is that if he gets the price of gas down, people will feel the immediate relief and they'll love him for it before the midterms. But I do believe that Trump's strategy right now, and I'll give you this because I like what Trump is doing largely, and it is easy to complain, right? I'm not in the administration. I'm not doing this job, but what I will say is it seems like the strategy they have moving forward is win the midterms with whatever procedural efforts they have or can. So redistricting is massive, giving Republicans a major advantage. The executive order on the post office is a massive procedural advantage. And I don't know that they actually need the SAVE Act to win at this point. It seems absurd to me that people are making bets on Kalshi for the Democrats to win the Senate because they'd have to flip either Texas or Alaska, which is just insane. They'd have to win every toss-up and flip a state. What's up?
Wouldn't they have to flip both? Texas and Alaska?
They have to win every toss-up and flip one of those states.
They got to win Ohio too, right?
Yep. North Carolina, Maine, Ohio, Michigan, I think.
I mean, these are states that Trump won by 10 or more.
Susan Collins is free money.
And Susan Collins, I think I'd like Susan.
And those are the toss-ups. So let's say Democrats win every toss-up. It's still 50-50 at that point, and J.D. Vance is the tiebreaker. They'd have to flip a Republican state. That's insanity. So I wonder, Trump recently said, I don't care about the midterms. I wonder if Trump's general idea is just, we are going to win this through policy and procedure.
Well, when Trump said that about the midterms, he was referring to the Iran deal. And I mean, he's trying, because you have to understand what the negotiation in Iran, this is a game of chicken, right? It's who basically the Iranians are trying to see, the Iranians' pressure point is Hormuz and the pressure on the global economy via closing Hormuz. And our pressure point is our blockade, which is preventing Iran from shipping any of its oil and creating problems for the oil infrastructure. And it's sort of this game of chicken as to who's going to give up first. And so obviously Trump, knowing that that's a negotiation, is not going to say, yeah, I really am going to have to give this up because obviously oil prices are killing us. So, so that's where that's coming from, right? He's trying to be tough in negotiations.
And you made the point earlier regarding the filibuster. I mean, this is the one thing that is holding Trump back to some degree, insofar as people are saying, why doesn't he just cross the Rubicon already? It's like, look at his team. I mean, it's like, this isn't Michael Jordan and this is like if Michael Jordan had 4 like JV high school.
People don't think about the knock-on consequences of that.
Why couldn't Bongino, why did Bongino leave? What happened there? What could he not do? Why are people disappointed?
It's a good question. I think he was frustrated with Pam. I know that. I think it was over the handling of the Epstein files. The funny thing is, on substance, I think Pam and Dan were on the same page about what actually the files meant. There wasn't really any meaningful disagreement. But I think Dan thought Pam was being too kind of opaque. And that was
Why did he leave, though?
I mean, part of it is also, I think he was, I can speak to this as someone who, once you have a platform and you do this, you would hate working in government, bro. You would hate it.
I also want to look, to go from I have a general idea of how much Dan Bongino makes from working in the industry.
Money, it's just your voice.
Well, and beyond that,
beyond
that, Bongino went from pretty much generally liked by everyone to now he's like this galvanizing figure purely because he was in the admin.
And it's
the
like
amount,
I
want to stress something.
To repudiate.
We do have a story to talk about in a second with Peter Thiel moving to Argentina. When you have a certain degree of wealth, you don't need to have stress. You don't need to. Yep. So Bongino going into the FBI was basically like, imagine walking into a room where there's 10 people standing around you screaming at the top of their lungs 24/7. He probably walked into that and said, wow, why did I do this?
He gave up his free speech too.
I'm just saying hold on. My point is this. My point is, if Dan Bongino quit, shut everything down, he could go play golf for the rest of his life and just drink pina coladas. Instead, he shut everything down and then walked into a room where people were screaming in his face 24/7.
But to be fair, I mean, Bongino came out of the NYPD. I mean, he probably has a bit more bandwidth in these regards than most
and he works
commentators.
His ass off. I think, although it's hard work, obviously, being deputy director of the FBI, but I think, this is my experience
in the Giuliani years. I mean, that was a hellhole.
Once you have a big platform and you're speaking to people on a daily basis, and then you have to shut up, which is that really sucks.
Let's get to the Civil War stuff. Let's jump to the story. We got this from KSAT. Man arrested for threats to kill Erica Kirk ahead of Turning Point USA event in San Antonio. Affidavit says Jacob Wensky, 26, faces 2 felony charges of making a terroristic threat. They say that San Antonio police investigators said Wensky replied to an April social media post about the group's 3-day Women's Leader Summit by writing, "I know exactly where to bomb." In a separate post in the same thread, he wrote, "I can't wait to be the valet for her escort." a warrant for his arrest states. An email from an account registered to Wensky stated, "Death to Erica Kirk and every speaker there. America will live on without the scum of this earth. Every Christian national shall perish in the bombing that will take place at every single Turning Point rally and event." You know, after seeing all of this stuff and just like, you know, Tucker and Candace and all that, I'm at the point where I'm like, it's all on purpose. I cannot believe for a second this is accidentally happening, being allowed to happen, and that Tucker, who's friends with Trump, all of a sudden just doesn't like him, has inverted his opinions, or Candace Owens just did a show with Anna Kasparian and Hunter Biden, like she's rallying the Democratic Party now. This is not an accident. Okay, these people don't do these things on accident. Donald Trump doesn't all of a sudden have Joe Kent and Tulsi Gabbard resigning on accident. I don't believe it for 2 seconds. I think it's all on purpose. I just don't believe this stuff anymore. I'm sorry.
I mean,
I think Candace.
Well, what do you mean? What do you?
Not
what don't you believe about
with
that?
this story, I think the guy did this and he got arrested.
Okay.
I'm saying that, like the Candace, like I predicted this. Candace's rhetoric and the show that she was doing and the accusations she was making would rally people to try or threaten to kill Erica Kirk.
Yes.
And my fear is that there will be an attempt on Erica Kirk's life because of how insane these largely female liberals have become over that issue.
Yeah, I
but YouTube is not accidentally promoting Candace Owens to a wide audience. They're not accidentally allowing her to break all of the rules with impunity. And the Trump administration is not accidentally sitting back as she attacks them and attacks Turning Point USA, which helped Trump win in 2024. It's just too great a leap for me to believe. So sorry if it's conspiratorial. I can't believe for 2 seconds the Trump admin's like, oh no, for some reason Tucker and Candace have turned on us and are destroying our base.
They do say don't attribute to malice.
You think
what
that
could be
Tucker,
attributed to negligence.
You mean so you think the Trump administration is like, you know, in cahoots or causing it? What's your claim?
I don't understand how, as I'm riding in a car with Tucker Carlson and Trump calls him on the phone and they're giggling with each other, a year later, they're mad at each other. Like, Tucker was just at the White House. He's meeting with Trump. He's meeting with premiers of foreign governments. And all of a sudden, his positions invert. Very
That's
rapidly.
Tucker's ego. Tucker's got an ego
and I think,
the size of Montana.
And I think Tucker has like a bit of like residual PTSD from being like stumping for the Iraq War. And it's very typical of this generation. It's almost like you almost feel bad for the guy to some degree. He's like, Iran's unfolding. I don't want to be on the wrong side of this again, so I'm going to go hard.
And I could resign myself to like, wow, he changed his opinion if it was just him. But tons of high-profile, prominent personalities flipping just doesn't make sense.
I mean,
in a short
short
term.
But I think Tucker's taking a different line than most of the other like retard right people. Or like where Tucker is still saying some crazy things, but you can kind of sense that he's at least has something vaguely coherent. It's like a very Duganist kind of like multipolar world kind of philosophy where like the Candace stuff is just straight up schizophrenic babble.
Tucker's been apologizing for a lot of stuff lately because his positions are an inversion of long-held positions. It's not just to say that Tucker is like, on this one issue I've changed my mind. It's Tucker going, for 20 years I said this one thing and now I'm going to say the inverse.
But he's done it.
And he said, and I apologize for this.
But he went from neocon chumming it up with Rachel Maddow to like populist, firebrand. And then this is just, as I understand it, the third iteration of Tucker. But like this is kind of tracks, I would say.
Even when he was pro-Trump on Fox News, he was critical of Iran and warning about a nuclear Iran.
His audience was different. You can't. I mean, I think somebody made this point, and if you're talking about like, we have these theses to try and explain the sort of transition of these of how the independent podcasters have moved. It's the globalization of their audience
and members of Congress.
Right. Well, Massey too has now
and Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, these all of it. I mean, at least for the pod. I'll start with the podcasters. Massey and Green are their own weird problem. The podcasters. I mean, they've now. I mean, Tucker Carlson Network put out that post where he was talking about how much his foreign audience has grown. Right. Like the thing is, once you go, started on Fox News, which is an American conservative audience, and he went to YouTube, which is the globe.
Yeah.
And your numbers there's 1.5 billion Muslims in the world. There's 20 million Jews. And not near. So I think I've noticed that it's true of everybody, I think. And it's not necessarily even sort of intentional or cynical, but people get pulled where their audience, there's a feedback effect there. So I think that's part of it. I think Tucker also, he's lost any sort of constraints that he had on his show. I mean, when you think, I've tweeted out a few times that we thought we liked Tucker, but in reality we liked Blegnev and Greg Ree and Alex Pfeiffer and his staffers.
The people who wrote the monologues
People
for
who
him
wrote,
every day.
yeah, the people who wrote. Now we see what Tucker actually does on Constrained, and it's a lot less.
It's an important thing people need to understand that the opening monologue that everyone loved from Tucker's show, the few years we was on Fox News, those were written for him.
And to the, I mean, he obviously had editing control, but then there's also constraint feedback on his monologues, right? He might try and put some stuff that's crazy in and get pushed back on by his staff and by senior.
Why is YouTube allowing Candace to just break the rules every day?
I mean, YouTube still has a bunch of leftists, and I think leftists are perfectly happy to see the right eat itself.
Did Tucker do the Jimmy Dore thing on YouTube? Because they're hardcore anti-vax in that episode.
I mean, all these people. I have no time for any moral preening from anybody who indulges Candace Owens. None at all.
I don't know. Maybe he didn't. I don't know when he had Jimmy Dore on the show. I just saw the posts on. Was it? Did he put it up on YouTube? I don't know.
Point. I mean, like Tucker's
very anti-vax, like outright saying vaccines and autism and all this stuff.
And to your point, I mean, Tucker's built up so much goodwill, where I can understand why a lot of people are still following us. But the Candace thing, it's like what she went from, like very normie, like borderline, neocon, certainly like a party shill. Like what goodwill is built up? Like she didn't have anything interesting to say for 10 years. Like I can very confidently say, as someone that would have been a target audience, I was 14 when Trump came down the escalator. I've never once. I remember it's instant that she came on my radar. I was like, oh, here's the token black woman that they found, so she can say the base things. But then boomers watching it can be like, see, there's black people that agree with us. This is great. That was her whole career. So I just don't understand, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is her audience she has now is a completely separate audience from what she had.
Oh, it's lib.
It was just, it's like libs, bored wine moms. It's mostly women, and women, like, love this kind of stuff.
How many non-Americans is it? Do you guys have the analytics?
To be fair, I do want to say, like, I think Tucker, Candace, etc., I think their audiences are a bit more American than people think. And my evidence for this is primarily anecdotal. But I meet a lot of people that are really into it, and especially older people. I think people don't realize how old Tucker's audience is.
Indeed.
Tucker is one of the oldest.
And Bongino.
Bongino too, but Tucker, they've actually this is it out. It's the opposite of what you would think. The Daily Wire is a really young audience relative to conservative media. So like 35 is young. And then Tucker has a very old audience, and the majority of people that I've heard that have like had their minds blown by Tucker are like baby boomers. Like they have followed him from Fox to Tucker, and they love this kind of stuff.
This is what people need to understand is that I hear a lot of people talk about like Dan Bongino. It's like, how does he have such a big audience? I don't know anybody who listens to him, and it's like, yeah, they're all like 60, 65.
They're gonna.
Bongino was a host on Fox News, built up a big audience, started a show. The ideas and the values that he espouses are attractive to the boomer audience, and he's got a big audience.
Yeah, and he was a guest on Hannity like every week.
Of course.
Years.
And Candace is targeting 35-year-old women.
Mm-hmm.
That's why she has the Stanley mug, and she does like true crime drama, dating.
Yeah, she turned Erica Kirk's life into a true crime drama.
Exactly.
That's basically what she did.
Yeah, and Candace is also like roped in people that wouldn't typically be super politically involved. So yes, women, but also like she has a very large like Hispanic and Black audience. Like she's really has a very big coalition, so to speak, of viewers that would never be interested in like conservative politics.
I saw this video on Instagram, and it was like an English teacher saying, tell me when you stop understanding. There's a bunch of these videos, by the way, but it's like, tell me when you are unable to understand what I'm telling you. And then he says like the first sentence, and it's just like, the dog fell and got hurt. The next sentence is, the dog was running, fell down, and injured himself. And then the next sentence is like, on a voyage through a desiccant field, and it gets more and more verbose. And the thing is, like, a show like this, we don't try to dumb things down. We'll use esoteric or, verbose language.
Yeah, I wouldn't do
quite a bit. Candace Owens I think Candace Owens says debacle intentionally. I do. Ben Shapiro made fun of her because she was saying like Clorflafel.
Yeah, she's a comedian.
And debacle.
She's a comedian
no, it's the Bush effect.
Skin.
No, it's the Bush effect. Bush was very well known. George W. Bush talked like he was dumb, and he got made fun of for it by. No, he's certainly not dumb.
He was mid-intelligence.
No, he's
he got the job because Daddy put him there.
You are wrong.
Wasp,
he let Dick Cheney run the show.
Ian,
kidding me?
No.
Ian,
homie.
So do you know? So in sales, rapport is the most important thing you can do.
He was charismatic as hell.
George W. Bush is not stupid.
I didn't say he was stupid. I said
He's
he wasn't
highly
he wasn't
intelligent.
super intelligent.
Yes, he is.
Bro.
Very smart guy.
Very smart.
He went to like
was a
Yale
mess.
when Yale was like still a very objective.
His dad got him the job.
It's
He's
you
a
know, I
Bush.
saw this viral clip that, you know, because like Jubilee did this like, you know, Charlie Kirk update thing.
I actually loved the interview,
And
George, by the way. Sorry.
Charlie
I don't
Kirk
mean
gets
to-
asked, do you think that Donald Trump is a good businessman? And he says, well, he's a multi-billionaire, so I think so. And then this woman goes, but he had 10 bankruptcies. That's what you're doing right now.
No, bankruptcy can be a very good tactic. in business.
Indeed.
George
W. Bush
couldn't communicate properly because he was like
intentionally
nervous and
speaking down is how you are attractive to the lowest common denominator. That's the point I'm literally making about Candace Owens. She says debacle on purpose to sound dumb so that she can attract the lowest common denominator. That's the point. That's how you build. Like,
That's what Hillary Clinton does.
exactly. That's what all the politicians do. So intentionally having a show where we use overly verbose and pretentious language, sometimes intentionally, is unattractive to a regular person who can't comprehend the words we're using.
Yeah, like I can't Candace, bit debatable otherwise, but her verbal IQ is quite high. Obviously,
Well,
anyone that's that successful in
Bro,
media,
we should
they know
pull
how
up-
to handle a camera.
I got this audio clip, George Bushisms. We should pull up some of Bush's stupidest statements. There's just statement after statement after statement.
Ian, do you
And he's the
understand?
president at the point.
Do you understand that's on purpose?
There's no. You pull it up
watch-
and tell me that it's on
watch-
purpose. You'll be shocked.
Watch a Bush cabinet meeting versus a stump speech. In a stump speech, he's like, "Howdy, y'all, I'm from Texas." Da 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 da. And then in a cabinet meeting, he's like, "Okay, so what are we?"
possible.
One of
He
his
was
more,
super
or watch
nervous.
a more recent interview with George.
Yeah.
Bush.
It's not even that. Listen, it is a sales 101 fact. The first step in charisma towards sales and persuasion is rapport. If you are trying to talk to the average person, you cannot be overly verbose. You will lose them. It's like that in that movie, The Adjustment Bureau, where Matt Damon's character, he's like running for Congress, and then he has like a moment of clarity where he's like, listen, he's giving his speech when he loses the race, and he goes, look, I've consultants who tell me what to wear and how to wear it. They tell me that a blue tie looks too pretentious, but a red tie looks too aggressive, so maybe yellow might work. They tell me to wear nice shoes so it looks like I'm a professional, but they can't be too clean because it looks pretentious, so I got to scuff them up a little bit so I seem like maybe I'm working class. This is what the whole game is. George W. Bush is not stupid. He is intentionally speaking down to be attractive to the widest array of people.
I think he was average intelligence, high charisma.
Also, but George Bush, like not to get super nerdy here, but there's so many indicators that, and I'm not a George Bush fan at all. I'm just saying he was flying fighter jets. Like they're not going to let someone with a middling IQ fly
Ian,
fighter jets.
be
These are,
president then, if you're so smart.
Yeah, these are like top.
You're smarter than he was. Be president then. Prove it.
You need more than intelligence to be president, man. His dad was George Bush.
So what?
So he got him the job. His dad, his name was George Bush.
Again,
dude.
you're just
Why
proving
do you
the
think
point.
Jeb Bush was able to run for office? His daddy.
Go to anybody who's got success and wealth, who has built a company, and they will tell you the same thing. The first mistake so many people make is the assumption that it can only be accomplished through money, when it is a scientific fact. Perseverance is the only prerequisite to success. That's a fact.
These are like genetic markers too. Like, do you think LeBron James Jr. is in the NBA because of his dad? It's like, well, no, it's because his dad had really good genetics, and that makes him a good basketball player. Or Ken Griffey Jr. It's the same thing.
Certainly
in politics.
access helps.
He has a genetic makeup that allows him to be an intelligent person, but also exceptionally good at communication, politics, etc.
Maybe you could say George Bush has like a 68 intelligence out of 100. Above average.
That's probably like 95.
Oh, dude, I lived through it, bro. I watched it every day. It drove me insane. He let Cheney run the thing, dude. He wasn't good at his job. He was just a charismatic figurehead.
I don't understand how you can't grasp this concept.
You're saying he's intelligent, but you don't have to be intelligent to be in Congress. To be a politician, you need to be charisma. You just need to trick people and get them to laugh. And I mean, like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
He's just a dumb idiot who was accidentally president.
Well, just to prove that, like, I'm very consistent on. I mean, like, Joe Biden is obviously a very intelligent.
Yes, he was.
Barack Obama, clearly an intelligent person. So it's like, no, like we can, again, I perceive Biden as a dumb person because of his policy actions, but he was president. He had a very successful
very
career.
Smart.
Yeah, he was super
Bush
smart.
was very, very
Yeah,
smart.
Bush is brilliant. Yeah.
Right? Like
Donald
I don't know
Trump,
Jeb
these
very well.
people are all genius level intellect.
Trump's very smart. Not every president
Trump
is
doesn't
genius.
talk. Does Trump talk like a smart person all the time? Does he use complicated words?
He's like a construction worker.
Yeah, but he's a smart guy. He's super intelligent.
Super smart.
Bush.
Trump's really.
I mean, if you guys were talking about George Bush Jr., I just don't.
Well, I
don't
think he
know.
was trying to appeal.
You have an emotional bias, Ian.
I
and you
watched the
can't
guy for like
understand
5 years, dude.
You can't
It was
understand how
driving me insane.
sales works and how politics works.
It's charisma. You even mentioned it like 5
Hillary
minutes or 8 minutes
Clinton
ago.
was on camera in the 2016 campaign speaking with a Southern drawl
Yeah.
because she didn't understand social media.
What did she say? I've long tired or something like
Something
that.
like that.
Something.
She talked about how she had hot sauce in her purse.
Yeah.
Do we
right.
really believe that woman carries hot sauce in her purse? No,
Hillary
she
Clinton
was
went to
lying
Yale
to get
Law.
black
So did Bill.
votes
She's
through black
smart.
media.
She's highly intelligent. So is Bill.
George W. Bush spoke that way to be attractive to regular people.
I'll
Maybe
even
sometimes.
say the most unpopular. I think Jasmine Crockett's actually probably pretty smart.
Of course she is.
It's like
when you listen to her before she was in office,
she's like
and she's
normal.
clear and articulate and normal, and then she does the ghetto trash thing to get votes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pick some congressmen. We'll just pick some random congressmen.
I mean, there's certainly a few that I'm like, okay, they
Yeah,
actually
there's-
probably
yeah.
are middling IQ.
Yeah, like
Now
you
we're
don't
talking
need
about
to be intelligent to
now we're talking
play
about
politics.
435 people, some of whom,
Yeah, like Steve. I think Steve Cohen
could have won a-
Okay, so you can admit you
Steve
don't,
Cohen's
you
probably
don't
above
have to be intelligent to be in politics.
Well, to be
succeed
president
in
is
po-
much different than like winning an election with a couple hundred.
I'm just taking you step by step. What if your dad's the president before
Senator's
you?
the cutoff.
Let's clarify this.
Only zero.
In almost all circumstances, because I reserve their absolutes would be silly in physical systems. You need to have an above average intelligence to be in
probably
politics.
above average. You can't be an idiot to be a president.
And no, to be in politics.
Sure, above average.
So
minimum 65, 60, something like that. Yeah.
well, if we're
Above
talking
average.
about
50's average.
if 50 is the middle of the bell curve, then 60 to 70 is usually the bottom of to be in some kind of office. But there are anomalies. Sometimes stupid people get through because they run unopposed or something like this. But to be a president. So again, Candace Owens is not accidentally hosting a massive show. Tucker Carlson is not accidentally hosting a massive show. And I've been massively obsessed with the recitation problem in AI for a while, which I don't know if we brought up yesterday on the show, but I'll ask you this question, Will. You got an IQ test for you. All right, you ready? We're gonna put you on the spot and embarrass you.
Okay.
Here's your question. You walk into a casino, and you're looking around. You want to find a game to play, and you see there's a roulette table, and dealer's a little tired looking. There's a few open seats, so you decide, I'll go play this game. You take a seat, and you decide to watch some spins before you make any bets. Out of the last 30 spins, 17 come up red. So you decide, I'm going to make a color bet. Which color should you bet on? Which color is the smarter bet?
Well, I think if we're talking like the platonic ideal of a roulette table, then it doesn't matter. If 17 have come up red and there's some possibility that the table is physically biased and flawed, then maybe it makes more sense to bet red.
Which is the correct answer.
Yeah.
So I bring this up because there are people, go look at my Twitter, and they can't comprehend this.
Right.
They cannot understand that math doesn't, in the physical reality, math doesn't exist in the abstract. So they genuinely believe it doesn't matter, it will never matter, when in fact, the likelihood that a roulette wheel is perfectly balanced is zero. The probability that a roulette wheel is balanced is zero. The likelihood that a dealer is perfect is zero. But there are people who can't comprehend this and they get angry about it. And I had to tell these people, but they don't understand. They can't understand.
I mean, the answer is there's no way, whatever hypothetical increase in probability, there is for red doesn't overcome the house edge, obviously, so you shouldn't bet. But
you don't know that. And that's the point. You always bet towards...
Well, but like from a Bayesian perspective, like you don't know that, but like as a Bayesian just going into a random casino, you assume that the edge trumps whatever the increase in probability that...
I think it's always fair to assume the house is trying to make money. However, that's why casinos pull dealers. It's why they added deflectors, and it's why they tell croupiers to change their spin. Because sometimes there's a thing in roulette called sector betting, where I've done this. A dealer will begin to spin the ball the same way every time at the same time every time. So some dealers might actually wait till 00 lines up with their hand, and they'll flick it. And what ends up happening is the ball keeps landing in the same quadrant of the wheel. So like 10 times in a row, you're like, it hit the same quarter of the wheel. It's called sector betting. And professional gamblers exploit this. They look for an advantage play in roulette when this happens. So then what happens is they'll go up and they'll make a massive bet in that sector and then win a few grand. Then the pit boss comes over and goes to the dealer and says, change your spin. Because these things do happen. My point ultimately is this. When I asked this question, and I did a poll, 70% of people got it wrong. They said it doesn't matter. If I was trying to sell as many gym memberships or beers or whatever to a group of people, would I want them to feel smart or stupid? Smart. You want to make them feel good. Rapport is number one. So knowing that 70% of people will get the question wrong, you set them up intentionally to make it feel like they are smart and they got the question right. Knowing that 70% will answer, it doesn't matter, I would set up a situation in which they would get a positive emotion out of the experience and then say, wow, you're really smart. You should buy this product from me. You're the perfect kind of person. If I go to them and say, wow, most of you are stupid. How could you be so dumb? Not even so aggressive. If I said, hey, you got this question wrong, many of them get mad, reject it outright. My point ultimately is,
I should have said Bush was smart so that he'd come on the show. I got your point.
George W. Bush, Candace Owens, they're not accidentally multimillionaires, leaders of industry. It is not an accident.
Bush is nepotism.
Nepotism plays a role, but Bush was not accidentally president.
No, he was intentionally put there for sure.
I think, I'm
Bush's old sidekick Cheney.
I can only tell you this, Ian, and if you're unwilling to accept it, your life will never improve.
It's all my opinion. This is all opinion of mine.
Well, there's a fact. The fact is, I guarantee you this. I have heard this from so many people. Will, I'm sure you've probably heard the same thing. I could do it if only I had the money.
No, you couldn't. No.
It's exactly.
No, you couldn't.
It's just that you absolutely cannot. I've heard it from so many people. I was on a bus in LA talking about a startup I was working on, and my friend was like, shh. She was like, you just blurting out what you're working on? And I was like, are you joking? You think the people on this bus can put together an app for Facebook?
Elon freed all his
I'm not trying to be addicted to people on the bus, but guys, like this is not reality. This idea of like, I have a good idea, I can execute upon it is not correct. This idea of I have a good idea, if only I had the money, I can execute upon it is not correct. There is this idea that exists among the layman that if you have a good idea, you better be careful because a rich person might steal it from you. That's not true either. I guarantee you. Sometimes maybe, but usually it's your fault. And I know that you know this as well. You go to a meeting with investors and you say, I have a really great idea for this judge's gavel, but I'm going to put a clock in it. Now, let's say that for some reason was a really good idea. You know what the investor's going to say? How much do you need to do it? I'm $50,000 to start up. Okay, I want 30%. They're not going to say, that's a good idea. I'm going to steal it from you. Why? The person who's already envisioned it and is working on it is sitting right in front of you. If you got to spend 50 grand to make it happen, just hire the guy who's sitting in front of you who wants to do it. But there are a lot of people who don't understand this.
Yeah, there's enormous reserves of capital in the world chasing good ideas and industrious founders. That's literally Silicon Valley. Like,
indeed,
that's the most powerful economic engine in the world. And part of what makes Silicon Valley is that they have all these different cultural norms about how venture capitalists need to behave that are extremely pro-founder, right? If you're a VC and you exploit a founder or mistreat them, you don't get to be in on the next round with the next VC or with the next big deal. Like all these things. And ideas are a dime a dozen. It's like the idea combined with the person that can actually make the idea a reality.
But I'll tell you this. Ideas are a dime a dozen. I don't care about ideas. I care about execution.
Yeah,
you find me somebody who can execute but is dumb as a box of rocks. Like they can't envision, they're not creative. But if you say, I want someone to build a pyramid of bricks and I want it tomorrow morning, and they're like, I can make that happen. Like that's the person you want to hire.
Hire, yes, but sometimes you want the visionary like Steve Jobs, and then you get Steve Wozniak, who's the guy that executes. They work together so well.
I actually think it's the other way around. I think Jobs is the guy who executed, and Wozniak was the visionary.
Really?
Yep.
The story's told that
Wozniak built.
Come in and be like, I want to see this, and Wozniak would be like, I'll build it, and then he'd go into his garage and like make the thing. And be
Wozniak
like,
invented the technology, and Steve Jobs packaged and sold it and made it palatable to the average person. Steve,
Steve was and Jobs is an unbelievably hardworking person, right?
Indeed,
and a guy who executed like crazy.
Well, I think
here you go, Ian.
Jobs quite often.
Steve Jobs said the iPhone should have one button. Mac computers.
Oh, that would have been so annoying. That's what they do with the iPod. It was so annoying.
Yes. You know why?
And they did that with their original mouse. It was ridiculous. They took away the left mouse.
And do you know why they dominate the smartphone market in the United States? Because they were selling to the lowest common denominator. They said it has to be, a person needs to be able to pick up the phone and just use it.
Well, their mouse.
And what did people say about Apple? It just works. Mm-hmm. That was it. That's the point. Yeah. So ultimately, what I'm getting to is these leftists go, Donald Trump is an idiot. and they go on TV and they say it, and I'm just like, I don't think Jimmy Kimmel actually believes Trump's stupid when he says this stuff. I don't think Colbert actually believes it. They understand this. Those guys aren't stupid either. Now, being smart doesn't guarantee success. Perseverance tends to. It's the one thing you actually need. But there are people out there who are smarter than anybody else, but don't have either the passion or the perseverance to succeed. Additionally, depending on the type, depending on what you would consider success, depravity can benefit you greatly as well.
For sure. Ripping people off is huge in business. Taking advantage of people, cheap slaves.
Being
Less so than you'd think. Less so than you'd think. There's a little. It's not. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but
well, I'm saying like look at the podcast industry with Tucker and Candace with massive shows, right? They're unscrupulous.
yeah,
Like their opinions are for sale. You know.
yeah. It feels. I think the more zero sum any environment gets, and I think that eyeballs and audience are kind of. I mean, there's just only so much time that any Americans are willing to spend listening to podcasts.
Indeed.
Right?
Unless we have hyped up AI numbers, which I can't tell if they're going to scale the views with the people that are born.
Well, this is part of the AI apocalypse that's happening. I think Candace and Tucker are elements of this, in that, you know, as more and more young people who grew up on the internet are entering the labor market or whatever version of it we have, and they don't know how to make money, they do what they know. They're doing social media. I see more and more low-level influencers that are doing cultural and political commentary. They don't necessarily have the keenest of insights, but they take up space. So it becomes harder and harder to stand out and make money. And we're actually a component of this in the earlier sense, in that it used to be the television networks made a ton of money, got 20 million views, you know, CNN and Fox and all that stuff. Then with decentralization, shows like this were able to emerge where it was much, much cheaper to run a show. We pulled audience from the likes of Fox News and CNN. Now, all of these young people that are becoming influencers are pulling views from us and from them, and everything's diluting and flattening out. What happens is people like Tucker and Candace need to maintain those views, and if you are unscrupulous, you'll say whatever you have to say to get the views. So if the American audience is diluted, but you need 1 million views per episode because you want to maintain your lifestyle or make money, you're going to try and find the audience. Truth is, there's 2 billion Muslims in the world, so going anti-Jew is really easy. Why? What's the lost market share for being anti-Jew? 20 million? What's the gained market share? 2 billion. That's easy math.
Dude, the thing about deception, it's such a valuable tactic in business and in politics. And like,
That's why it's illegal to an extent.
I want to not be deceptive. I've tried to do it, and it's why I'm not super rich, because I'm trying to be honest and direct. And it like,
Ian, that's not true. And
You're making excuses for yourself.
are you kidding me? I mean, I could easily have a shitload of audience right now. I could blow I could blow this show up and go huge.
Well, I mean,
I would never do
in
that.
the context of audience, sure, okay.
in the context of, if you mean you're gonna like, I gotta say, like, I think you're lying to yourself.
Well, it's easy to deceive people and to make 10x. I mean, it's easy, dude. I just don't want.
I agree to an extent, because if I like got up here and I just started tweeting out every day, Trump's betrayed us, and I started like nitpicking every single decision he makes, I'd be 8 times as big right now, because it's like that's market capture, where it's like I'm capturing 80% of conservatives that are happy with Trump, but then I could capture every libtard plus 20% of conservatives that don't like Trump.
And that's what
right now.
Brian Tyler Cohen and David Pacman are.
And that's what a lot of people on the right are doing right now, is they're doing the like sports radio, where they're like, you know, the coach, you subbed him in at the wrong time, da da da. I'd be way bigger right now. That's unfortunately where a lot of the market is.
I have joked that if I was running a daily podcast, it would be really boring, because I'd be saying how great the administration's doing, and just on repeat, be like, man, they're killing it again. Another day, great day.
I wake up with a smile on my face.
Hit like and subscribe.
You are both correct, but to an extent, right? The idea that you would be rich and massive, Ian, by lying. I
used to lie to people on YouTube. I got so popular so fast. I would just find the most popular thing and rip it apart, and everyone loved me. My shit was going fucking, and then I was like, you know, I feel dirty. I felt like
yes. But
selling
again, to
a product
clarify,
I
like,
didn't believe in.
reaching the upper echelons of the podcasting rankings, for which there are only like the top 200 is a top 200, and only like in the top 200, how many are actually making a ton of money? the number 200 biggest podcast in the world probably is making six figures.
Yeah.
And the number one is making 50 million to 200 million or more.
And what you're describing is also like a really common trope actually in Hollywood where, you know, they follow a singer who like he was really like a family man and had all his friends when he was busking on the street. And then he becomes all like this successful singer. And then his friends are like, hey, man, he's like, oh, I don't know you. I'll upset my manager if I hang out with you guys. That's like the most common trope in Hollywood because to a degree, I guess that maybe does happen.
I'm just saying that the idea of I could just do it if only is one of the biggest mistakes people make and tends to be proof that they can't do it.
I agree. Do it or don't. I mean, don't talk about how you could, but I like to point out the value of deception. I used to think deception equal to evil. It doesn't. Like George Washington was a master of deception, and that's why they won that war, because he could send false orders to the enemy when he needed to and be where he wasn't. You know?
Yeah,
And Trump definitely deceives too. That's a big part of his foreign policy.
I view like a fundamental component of evil to be destruction for the sake of destruction, or so it's I hate to, I don't want to be absolute with it, but I would say that an element of evil often includes destruction for small personal benefit, so greater destruction to life and civilization and humanity for a small benefit to you. That is, you are a net negative on humanity.
And you might argue that deception is a form of psychological destruction. And if you're doing it just to get a little bit of gain, that's evil. But if you're doing it for a greater purpose,
Yeah, that's basic Christian theology is like, okay, deception in advance of something good is not actually a sin. Insofar as like if someone busts into a room and the guy they're looking for is hiding in a locker and they say, "Where is he?" And you say, "I don't know where he went." So that way they leave. That's not a mortal sin. You actually spared the guy's life.
There is a reality to the nature of man and earth, and that is slavery is and always will be a component of what we do. So right now we are using microphones with components that are mined by slaves in third world countries. Peasants, maybe is a nicer way to put it. There's peasants in China that produce things for pennies on the dollar, and we live substantially better than they do. And liberal activists don't really want to acknowledge the components in their computers that they use for their environmentalism are destructive to the environment. I think it's the nature of reality that people need to come to terms with. That is, you see a lot of these people online, and they do sales for like courses. They'll say, if you want to be successful, if you want to break the bank and escape the matrix or whatever, give me money and I'll explain to you how to do it. They're basically saying, listen, there are 100 million, there are 10 billion, 8 billion really stupid people out there. And they could all give me $1 and then I will live like a king. That's basically what they're saying when they do a lot of this stuff. There's a truth to that, right? You will be wealthy if you can convince 1 billion stupid people to give you $1. You'll be a billionaire. And that's what a lot of people do. I feel like that's the ethos of the Democratic Party for the most part. They view the world as people are really dumb and should be told what to do. And the populist movement, largely with the right, is to a certain degree, we're going to withhold information if we think it could be detrimental. But for the most part, it's tell the truth and hope that people come to the right conclusions. And we have a robust, intelligent movement. And that's why I think you find many moderates shifted rightward and toward Trump. The left just lies about everything all day. Everything about Trump is a lie.
Have you guys ever read The Romance of the Three Kingdoms? It's a Chinese novel wrote in the 1400s by Lo Gongxiao about this war that took place in 200 AD in China. And the honorable, ethical guy, Liu Bei, is the hero, in my opinion, of the book. He fails. The kingdom splits into three. There's this bandit uprising. The Yellow Turbans are trying to, and all these governors raise armies and fight this rebellion. And then one of the governors seizes the emperor and takes control of the country. And all the other governors have to raise standing armies. And then they form into these three kingdoms. And Liu Bei's kingdom, he's the benevolence. He is just pure and honest in the story. And he can't beat the deceptive Cao Cao.
A lot of Game of Thrones. I wouldn't be surprised.
The great deceiver, the one who said, I would rather betray the world than let the world betray me, is the one who won. And that's the moral of the story.
The moral of the story is those that are willing to exercise power to gain more power win.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thesis of Game of Thrones, right, is, Ned Stark is the character, the honest, upright man who keeps making these stupid mistakes and getting killed for his trouble. And then I have a provocative thesis, which is that Tywin Lannister is actually the hero of Game of Thrones.
Well, until he dies, I guess, or what?
Right. That was George R.R. Martin just deciding that he, his left-tardism kind of coming into play, I think, honestly. But, there's like this thing about, but anyway, I could go.
Yeah, Tywin Lannister.
Tywin Lannister is the person who understands actually what's going on and does the things that actually lead to peace.
Let me ask you a question, Ian. You are a king of a great nation. You have 50 million loyal subjects. Or let's say you're the duly elected president. And a meteor is just been detected. It's just been detected. And they say, Mr. President, we have just detected this large meteor that's going to crash into the nation. It's going to kill everybody. It's not going to wipe out the planet, but it will kill everyone in this country. We have a way to stop it, but we need 1 million people to run the machinery to stay in that city so that they can prepare the counter missiles that we can launch and fire at this meteor and destroy it before it wipes out 50 million lives. If you tell the people that you want them to sacrifice themselves, most of them will flee, will not operate the machinery, and everyone will die. What do you want to do?
I don't tell them a thing. I let them run the machine.
You let them all die.
Well, hopefully, so they're going to die regardless, even if they succeed.
So the idea is that
I understand the metaphor.
in this city, they're going to
let them die. I would sacrifice 1 million to save the rest. You have
they're going to launch countermeasures which will only destroy the meteor up to a certain size, and the remnants will slam right into where they are, killing 1 million people.
It's the utilitarian. You have to sacrifice the few to preserve the many. Yeah.
Right. This was the argument Democrats used during COVID. And then here's what happens. They all fire the countermeasures at the meteor. They miss, but the meteor wasn't headed towards the country. They got the math wrong. You were willing to sacrifice a bunch of people because a guy told you to trust him, and it turned out he was wrong the whole time.
That could happen too.
You could do it a better way. You could say, like, they have to operate a machine that will generate so much radiation they'll all fry to death, but it'll save the country. Then they launch the missile, all get radiation poisoning. The meteor missed. The calculations were off. No one was ever really at risk, and you sacrificed 1 million people because of a what if from someone you trusted.
The first thing I thought while you were giving me the metaphor was rally my most trusted oligarchs, and we'll figure this out, and we're going to solve it without anyone knowing about it.
We learned a lot about the COVID vaccine recently. I don't know if you're tracking this stuff, right?
Not.
Stanford published in December that 1 in 16,750 males, 30 and under, got myocarditis from the vaccine. And myocarditis is serious. This is not, this is heart damage. It shortens your lifespan. We also had another study that came out that said that mRNA vaccination, if it travels to your liver, will actually decrease your immunity. So it is considered now very likely that when people were getting the vaccines, it was not, this is a fact, we know it wasn't staying in the injection site. The presumption now, based on the study published in Nature at nature.com, is that many people who had the mRNA vaccine travel from the injection site into their liver became more susceptible to getting COVID. The argument made the whole time was that, yes, there will be vaccine injury, but the amount of vaccine injury is substantially less than the deaths from COVID. So they argued everybody should be forced to get the vaccine to save as many people. Now we're learning that people got heart damage from it and that people may have had their immune systems weakened by it. And that's the challenge with this utilitarian worldview of thinking that you know what is true, deciding to pull the trigger and sacrifice a portion of your own population to save more people when you could be wrong the whole time.
And the people that you would intend to sacrifice might actually be better. Like sacrificing 1 million brilliant people might be worse than, rescuing 100 million idiots. So there's that.
There's no easy answer.
Too.
There's none. The philosopher king may say, it pains me to sacrifice 1 million to save 1 billion, but I have to. Then he sacrifices that 1 million, and the meteor was never a threat in the first place, and he just killed 1 million people for no reason.
That's part of why I don't want to be president. But the thing is, recoiling from power, someone else is going to take it. So
correct. So Trump can choose to be the brutal guy, and we can shift this to the Iran stuff. I think the closing of the Strait of Hormuz is the intended condition. I don't think they're trying to open it.
I mean,
the Strait of Hormuz was opened before the war. So it doesn't make sense that it becomes a point of contention now to end the war. It's cutting China off from 50% of its oil imports. It's constraining our enemies while converting the United States into one of the largest oil exporters in the world. So Trump, how many times now has he said we have a deal? Like 7?
Yeah.
We've won the war like 8 times.
Indeed. It sounds more like whenever there's like a boiling point where it's like, what is going on? Trump says the war is about to end, and then everyone calms down. Then nothing happens. It starts getting hot. People start losing their minds. No, it's going to end now, and it calms down. But the whole time, China's been cut off from their imports.
Yeah,
which is
sort of, I mean, that actually makes some sense in the sense. I mean, if it's really hard to criticize what Trump's doing on Iran from a logical perspective because we don't know what he's seeing, right?
He takes out. Let's do this. We do have a story. We got to pull it up. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, from Politico. Pentagon puts building blocks in place for Cuba invasion. The Navy's presence in the Caribbean has not reduced despite the Iran war. What did Donald Trump do? He went into Venezuela, took out Maduro, got our oil assets back just before we went into to Iran. Now he's going after Hassan and these lefties for funding and financing related to Cuba. The U.S. is going to make a move on Cuba. I do not believe Donald Trump wants the Strait of Hormuz open. I just think that the administration can't tell the American people, we got your gas to $5 on purpose. $5 gas in the United States, as far as Trump is concerned, is a small price to pay to cut off half of the energy imports for China. China's the biggest threat to the United States.
But the problem with that calculation would be, I think they understood that if they intentionally shut down the Strait of Hormuz, it would completely decimate the Japanese economy. Now the Japanese bond market is completely overheating, and that's screwing us over big time. Because again, that was our largest debtor, or creditor rather, and now they're selling off all their bonds. It's destroying our bond market. Now he went from Kevin Warsh coming in to cut rates. Now he's like, I might have to hike rates. The market is, calculating.
I don't think that changes the calculus. I think the idea is we know this was bad for us. It's worse for China. Donald Trump is he's wielding a double-edged sword. The hope is that we cause more damage to our global adversaries than we do to ourselves. Point being, Trump can't come out and say, I am going to cause U.S. gas to jump to $5 to hurt China, because the Americans are going to be like, what? I don't care about China.
Well, I don't think it was so much us trying to limit China's energy supply because they are able to get it from Russia on sale. I think in that theory, I think what makes a little bit more sense is that, and we have seen some indications in the press that China was pressuring Iran to start selling oil in yuan, and that would be a huge problem for the United States. And so some have argued, I don't necessarily know if because who knows what Trump's saying, to your point, but some have speculated that Trump can't actually lose this war because if Iran starts trading in the yuan, that's going to freeze out the United States from a massive energy sector.
I mean, he's in a tough spot, right? Even if your theory is not right, let's take the sort of not mainstream. I don't know if that's the right word. The orthodox theory of the war.
Orthodox theory being that Donald Trump accidentally triggered a war which closed the state. I'm sorry, let me clarify. Donald Trump started a war that accidentally resulted in the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and the spiking of gas prices, and now he's been struggling for several months to cut a deal that will open the strait. That's the orthodox view, right?
I think that the orthodox view says he thought that the orthodox view. I don't think is that harsh on Trump. I think the orthodox view would say he thought, we will be able to impose overwhelming military superiority over Iran and they will want to cut a deal.
And he was wrong. And now he can't reopen. So again, it's Trump screwed up or it's on purpose. Which do you think it is? I think it's on purpose. I think Trump went into Venezuela to secure oil assets because he knew the strait was going to get closed.
I think that it's more likely that they just misjudged the Iranians a little bit because I think.
Why go to Venezuela then?
Well, Venezuela. I mean, because Venezuela is. I mean, they're thugs. They're hostile to us. I mean, really, it's these people are hosting the Iranians, the Russians, the Chinese.
Sure. I don't think it's a coincidence that the U.S. seized back the largest. I mean, it's the largest oil producer in the world. Yeah. And then. I don't think that it is. I don't think it's a coincidence. Trump was like, we're going to take the oil assets from Venezuela, and then randomly and unrelated, we're going to go to war with Iran, a month later.
I mean, I think that obviously makes sense. I think that they certainly, considered the idea that like Trump and his team did not consider the possibility of the Hormuz closure is ridiculous. I've seen people put that out there, right? They had the idea they had no plan for the Hormuz closure. They had no idea like that might happen. That's absurd. Obviously they did. Like I know people in Navy EOD who, like, you've had Tom Sauer on, right? Like Tom Sauer's talked about this. Like this is what they planned for decades. They've considered this problem.
So the issue is, why is Trump struggling to cut a deal that would open the strait?
Because there's a lot of different interests, and I think the most likely explanation is that there's a lot of these different competing interests. You know, I tweeted this out a couple days ago, which is the idea that the one foreign, we talk about foreign influence and everybody harps on Israel. The one country that always seems to get its way or has been getting its way as to Trump's actions is Saudi Arabia. Prior to the war, Saudi Arabia was asking, hey, you need to go do this. You can't let Iran make you look weak.
Yep.
And then now with Saudi's oil infrastructure under threat, they're like, hey, can we do diplomacy? And so that's actually
that's true.
It was also causing problems in the Red Sea, for which Saudis have a massive interest.
Right. And so I think the Saudis, it's managing these sort of like key allies who are investing or have promised to invest huge amounts in the United States, right? Like something like $4 trillion between Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar.
And the Abraham Accords are on the line.
And the Abraham Accords, they want to expand them. So there's just, it's almost like I think people kind of, especially in our space, just like have this like very narrow aperture, like they do. It's just tunnel vision on Israel in terms of like foreign influence, and they're not understanding that actually, especially given the way that the war happened, which is, there was a huge degradation of Iranian military capability, and especially their ballistic missiles that can actually hit Israel 1,000 miles away, but they have all their short range missiles that can hit the Gulf. And
I think that was ultimately,
and that was what happened. Remember we did that convoy thing, the Project Freedom thing?
Yeah. And
there's a Saudi commentator by the name of Ayman Dean, who you should be reading if you aren't. He's really, really interesting. But, there was this talk about how the Saudis requested a pause or something, or the pause was done at the request of Pakistan. And Ayman Dean explained that what happened was, Saudi Arabia, the UAE were all like, yes, let's do these convoys, get the ships out of Hormuz.
Yeah.
And then they started doing it, and Iran fired at some oil infrastructure, like at Fujairah and a few other places. And then the United States, like in a press conference, Kane was like, well, we think we're not going to say that's above the threshold of a ceasefire. Like that's still a ceasefire. Yeah. And the Saudi and the Emiratis apparently were like, I'm sorry, what?
Right.
They blew up our oil infrastructure. That's a ceasefire. You're not, okay, you need to stop doing this, because if you're not going to respond to our oil infrastructure being built, then we're not okay with this convoy project.
Yeah.
That's what brought it to a quick end.
Yeah, and as I understand it too, like obviously there's domestic pressure. Not that the European allies can do too much about this, but there's been a lot of frustration from Trump that I think they anticipated going in that actually the Europeans, the Japanese, et cetera, would at least intervene and assist in some way. I do think they actually anticipated that happening and didn't happen. I think part of why, and what no one's talking about, is again, like the Saudis, the Qataris, are heavily invested in a lot of European markets. Like that is very true. And again, the Europeans kind of understand that they might have not as much leverage as they quite thought. And it's this big dance right now between Starmer trying to please his base, but now he's screwed, but he's also got to keep the foreign investors happy. It's put them in a really bad situation.
We lose if our adversaries are allowed to control our media. And I think it is patently obvious for a long time now, foreign interests have been manipulating our media in a variety of ways. And it seems like the U.S. has no capability to stop it.
As J.D. Vance said, if we lose the AI war, we lose everything. And this is why Taiwan's such an important, they're doing like 100% of the chip fabrication. I don't know if it's literally, but some numbers I've seen thrown around. Elon's like, we, dear God, need to reshore our chip manufacturing. We're on the precipice. The iron lattice technology is pretty promising. I don't want to talk about it because the Chinese are listening, but what other choice do we have? You put the memory in the processor, you get 10 million times the effectivity. We're kind of, we need to build it, and that's going to take
time. The topic completely.
Yeah, well, I mean, to tie it back in,
that's
the AI. And to tie it back in, and I'd be curious your thoughts on this. Is I don't actually think Trump is this China hawk that people make him out to be, and I think that was evident when he was meeting with the Chinese. And he effectively said the Taiwanese, like, that's a situation that can be resolved later. And if he was this massive China hawk, he wouldn't have used that as leverage in negotiations over Iran. I think the Middle East is actually much more of a focus for him than people realize.
My point is the U.S. will not have the political willpower to stop our adversaries and win these conflicts if the people are convinced they're not our adversaries.
Yeah, I mean,
the biggest threat to America is right now.
What?
According to Twitter.
What?
You know.
Sympathy for the Iranian government?
The biggest threat to the United States is China. However, if you follow the biggest podcasts in the world, which country is the biggest threat to America? Israel. A country the size of New Jersey that spends what, like 1/20th of the lobbying dollars that China does? Don't get me wrong, you're allowed to complain about Israel and their lobbying and AIPAC and all of that stuff. But I think it's really funny that when Donald Trump endorses Paxton and Cornyn is the AIPAC candidate, these personalities aren't coming out and cheering for the defeat of the AIPAC candidate.
But
again, I want to stress this. This is because we have foreign influence manipulating our media space. I don't care about Israel at all. I literally just do not. You want to criticize their lobbying. You don't like Netanyahu. All those things are allowed. You're mad about what's happening in Gaza. Absolutely allowed. But the greatest threat to the United States, singular threat, and I don't think it's the only threat, but China is a much bigger adversary on the global stage than any other country. They spend $400 million on lobbying. They're buying farmland near military bases, taking pictures of our military installations. They flew a spy balloon over our country, taking snapshots of our missile launch sites. But there are people, despite all of this, who have been convinced that the biggest threat we face is a country the size of New Jersey in the Middle East.
This also happens to be our best ally on both AI and cybersecurity technology. Like if I were China, like if there is an American ally that I would want not to be an American ally anymore for my strategic purposes, it would be.
This is exactly it. Look, Israel's imperfect, and you're allowed to criticize them again. I say it a million times. So why is it that these Israel derangement syndrome people lie about what my argument is?
Maybe it's
Algorithmic manipulation makes people money when they lie about Israel.
And there might be an active AI army coming out of China that is botting these people, making
Always
them psychotic.
has been. We've been tracking it since the 2010s.
Redirecting it at Israel, redirecting a lot of vitriol at Israel.
They steal our IP. They attack our email infrastructure and our social media. TikTok was a weapon. That's why we effectively seized it.
And TikTok was like super, super pro-Palestine.
Yeah. But you know, it wasn't always. It flipped over one weekend. Yeah. We tracked the data, and it looked like an algorithmic switch intentionally promoted anti-Israel content.
And I think that's true, but even with the media machine, I don't think the Iran war is ever going to be popular with the Americans. I mean, Americans are like allergic to
I'm not saying that. I'm saying if we as the American people wanted to get serious to stop an adversary who's been stealing our IP, buying up land, manipulating our politics, sending spies. We had a mayor in California who was a spy for China. We've got sitting members of Congress that are banging spies. The American people will get serious about the threat that China poses to this country. The 1,000 Talents program, bribing politicians, bribing professors, all of this stuff.
Confucius Institutes at the university.
Yep.
But has the average American ever been able to like articulate geopolitics at a high level anyway? Like I think if you polled Americans, they
on Israel apparently.
Well, I mean, even then, I would say that is actually evidence that they have like poor geopolitical instincts. And I'm not even like in Israel. I'm just making that point. But beyond that, I mean, if you did poll Americans, there's polling. They do say China is our biggest threat. But that doesn't really mean anything because ultimately, like geopolitics is
not Massey's followers.
I know, but I'm just saying that with the average American, they poll it's like 60% say China's our biggest problem.
My point is our adversaries want us off balance. And they're succeeding, and I don't think the Trump administration has the sophistication to deal with this.
I guess what I'm making the point is we can't underrate the retardation of like the general public. And my point is like on the data center thing, like everyone's like, this is clearly China trying to hamstring us on data centers, and I'm like, actually, all this for the most part, as I'm seeing, is pretty organic. Like this does track with the American people. Whatever point you have on data centers. I don't think that's pushed by algorithms. I think people just instinctually really hate this.
I disagree because the Utah data center doesn't make sense that people are opposed to it. So if you're upset about a data center in Loudoun County that they're building near your home, agreed. If you're upset that they're eminent domaining your land to build a data center, agreed. That sentiment is legitimate. If you start making videos where you're like, they're building a data center in the desert away from human beings, now something feels weird.
But people were really angry about nuclear energy at the time. Like the majority of Americans hated nuclear energy at the time, and that was way before like the mass media market that we're in now. I think it's like Americans are really good, and sometimes it's a good thing, but oftentimes it's a bad thing, is they're really good at whipping themselves up into a frenzy over
the Chinese have a great firewall across their internet. So they go outside their firewall, they say nuclear energy bad, data centers bad. Everyone get afraid and tell your government. And so the people in the United States are like, yeah, no nuclear, no data centers.
Inside,
the people in China have no idea. They're building
inside
data
of
centers,
China,
they're building nuclear plants.
Inside of the China, their social media is be an astronaut, join the military, fight for your country, your people are good. And in the United States, the media we get is be gay, don't have kids, and the biggest threat is one of your own allies.
But China even has a problem putting a lid on a lot of social media. Like there's a video actually that was talking about the biggest post in WeChat history was this young man, and it was called like the lie down culture there, where it's basically he's laying out how horrible, they have the 6-day work week, and he's like laying out how horrible, the life is for the Chinese youth. And this is why Xi Jinping, he's come out multiple times and said like the biggest threat to China as he sees it is this lie down culture of like Chinese people being overworked and then they refuse to pay into the system, et cetera, et cetera. And so like I think even China has like more domestic issues than people give them credit for, because this post went everywhere. And I mean, the Chinese, obviously they tried to put a lid on it and that sort of thing. But I think we have this idea that China's like North Korea, where everything is just like unified. All the people there are in lockstep. It's like they actually have quite a bit of domestic issues. It's just with the firewall, with the lack of journalism, and also it's such a drastic different culture that we have a tough time kind of like breaking down the specific dynamics within China. I guess that would be one point. And then my other point is I do think a lot of this stuff is organic, is domestic. I think Americans do oftentimes take wide positions just because they're popular. And I mean, I don't blame some people actually like have really thought out coherent philosophy. I'm not going to say they're like paid by China. I think it's just coherent with typically like a lot of conservative principles, values that people have, where they're like, no, we want to like turn back the clock on. They view like social media as a huge problem, so naturally they're going to be skeptical of AI. Naturally they're going to be skeptical of data. Like I don't think that's necessarily. I'm sure it is a component, but I think I'm not downplaying the ability for Americans to mobilize and get really upset en masse.
It's like a short-term fear, because if you're afraid of data centers because they're going to destroy the environment and make your electricity bill go up, you might not realize that if China gets the data centers and they decide to attack the United States homeland with nuclear drones, that's worse for our environment than data centers.
But you can never but you can't articulate that to like the American people. They're like that's so abstract that like no one's ever going to respond to that. That's kind of like my point is like even if the media machine was like, yes, China is the biggest thing, I don't think it actually changes that much on the ground, because like the threats that we face from China are very abstract. They're not very tangible. Like they'll say, oh well, they're going to like knock out our electric grid. Well, people can't like comprehend what that means because we've never experienced it. We don't have that lived experience of understanding what that is. We only understand conventional warfare. So when they would come out with the whole Ukraine-Russia thing and they say, well, Russia could like take over Europe, people understood that instantly because they've done that before. Like people know what that is. They know what the effects are, etc. And so I guess that's kind of my point is like, one, I think we overrate China's unity, and then B, I think we underrate the American people's ability to just take these positions organically.
We're going to go to the uncensored. We're going to go to the Rumble rants and super chats before the uncensored portion of the show. We'll read what you guys have to say. Smash the like button, share the show. Get Off My Lawn says the Lodge Poker Room in Austin has reopened a couple days ago. A grand jury decided to toss out the case against them. Indeed, I've been following this. It's amazing news, and I'm glad to see it all worked out. When you can't get a grand jury to indict, man, that case must have been real bad. So they seized assets, they accused them of a bunch of crimes, and then a grand jury was like, yo, this is fake, and tossed it out, and the Lodge is back in business. Shout out to the Lodge Poker Room, one of the best, if not the best and biggest poker room. And then they also raided another card club in Houston recently. Like, we're flying drones around the building. It's pretty crazy.
Today, I think. Was it early today?
I Just Lurk says the alien map starts in your rough location. It essentially shows you people who they caught and where near them. It's actually eye-opening. Very interesting. Dylan with Rumble says, Ian, we got to send the cows. Got shovel out that ish and milk them for methane. The cows will terraform Mars.
If we can get it, first we got to do fish. But first we got to get it hot, so we need to plant daikon.
Nah, let's just literally send like 1 million cows to Mars.
Their carcasses heat up the atmosphere.
Nah, what do you mean?
Explode because it's low pressure.
They'll evolve to eat each other.
Have you got to play Terraforming Mars, the board game, because you do it step by step. You need to raise the temperature.
You know, the problem with these board games is they're all just like very complicated.
It is.
Like Catan is not particularly complicated.
No, it's randomness. You roll dice. I don't like it.
But it's fun.
Random. But
and
really
Carcassonne.
Think ahead.
Remember Carcassonne? We have that out in the other room. That was a good game.
Similar randomness. Dude, you'll love Terraforming Mars because it's so much strategy, and you're not just
we tried to play it. We were just like, nobody wanted to learn how to play it. That's the problem.
I got all the boxes. I just pulled them out of stores.
Yes, I know. And everyone sits down and they go, it's going to take like 30 minutes to learn.
Yeah.
Put on a music video. Let's play pool.
That's because I have high intelligence.
The issue is that regular people are like, I don't want to spend my day off learning how to play a board game. I'll play one time.
You don't have to learn it once. Oh,
yeah, you only learn Magic the Gathering one time.
You can also get the video game on Steam. Sorry, I'm chewing almonds.
Just play Mario.
Get Terraforming Mars on Steam, dude. You'll learn it real fast. It's awesome.
All right, Brewmaster Monk says, if the aliens are real, then why hasn't Trump challenged them to a battle of the bands at Area 51? He could even film a reality TV show to form the American band. He's leaving money on the table. There was a, this Disclosure Day movie's coming out, and Spielberg says it's all true. And then AOL wrote an article about how people think it's predictive programming, that they're releasing this movie to get people ready for aliens. And then there's this viral post on Reddit where a guy claims that he's a whistleblower who worked for the U.S. government. And then he basically wrote like a sci-fi screed where he said that when life emerged and when humans evolved, aliens took early humans and brought them to a planet with alien technology to see how would humans develop with a planet of scarcity and a planet of abundance. And now bugs are coming, declaring war on the Galactic Council. And I'm just like, do people just not realize all of this is fake? Like, these are not whistleblowers. Bob Lazar just made it up. It's not real. You know what I mean?
Did that guy say they're going to start a band of aliens? Because
yes,
you should call it alien derangement syndrome.
Hey, there you go.
That was the first thing I thought.
The Fallen 501st says, wasn't GWB a fighter pilot? He was.
He was. Yes.
Indeed.
Good vision.
Yep. Barry says, Ian loves George Bush.
I do. That's why I criticize him so heavily.
Respect that.
Schnozberry says, Florida has gone after people saying threatening comments in social media, mainly anti-Semitic comments, but nothing on people who make threatening comments to Trump, MAGA, or politicians. F this. Yup.
Who they actually prosecuted?
I don't know.
Right, exactly.
Well, I mean, I'm not tracking the story. I mean, it doesn't even happen.
I mean, if they've made an actual true threat against a person, like if you go out there and like communicate a death threat off against anybody, you're going to get prosecuted for that.
I made a picture to trigger the Israel derangement syndrome people. It is two white guys dragging rocks being whipped by a Chinese soldier, while one says, at least it's not Israel.
Dude, there's so many problems on Earth. I mean,
At least it's not Israel.
Religious extremism is a problem. Totalitarianism is a problem. Centralization of authority.
Yeah, I kind of want to. It's like a version of that libertarian meme or something. Like with like it's the stone toss thing where the guy's got the gun. They've got the guns. The guy back of the guy's head. I can't explain this meme at the top of my head.
Oh, I know what you're saying. It's like they're the guns back of the head, and they say, well, "Could you imagine if it was us on the other side?"
Right.
Could you imagine if we were doing this? How they'd freak.
All right. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, if Disclosure Day is real, does that kill God? No. Because some people believe that the quote-unquote aliens are just demons, entities,
It might change the shape of God in your mind.
All right. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, yes, Tim, we've all become too global caring. If we Americans solely concern ourselves with America, the world overall will improve. More happy too. Indeed. So what's wrong with globalization? So long as it's American hegemonic globalization, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's just like, this is the thing is like, and I'm one of these people, like it sounds like really nice, but the problem is so convoluted. For one, like entitlement spending. I mean, as long as we're going to have half our budget going towards entitlement spending, you can't like remove yourself from the global system. Like we can't like absolve ourselves of being the global guardian. And I hate that, but like that's the third rail of politics. You're not going to change that.
It seems like the Uniparty's mentality was we're going to have a one world government through some kind of system, and America will not be on top. And Trump said, no, we'll do that, but America will be on top.
Yeah. And I mean, I think people underestimate, like if we totally retreated into ourselves, that wouldn't just mean everybody else would leave us alone and let us do what we wanted. I mean, I've talked about this a lot, but you have to understand, I mean, China is a massive power and already has a lot of say about how other countries conduct their affairs. In a world where we totally withdrew and decided not to exert our influence or use our power meaningfully, then basically anybody we'd want to do a deal with or anybody we'd want to favor from, they'd be like, well, I have to check with China first.
Yeah, the way you have to look at it is like once you've initiated the boss fight, you can't like leave. You can't save the game and exit. It's like
and which countries that have given up their empires are better off for it? Yeah,
literally.
Like how's Portugal doing? How's Spain doing? How's the United Kingdom doing?
Japan and Germany.
Like now sometimes you're forced into it because you lose a war, right? A great power war or something, but the idea of voluntarily just retreating from the scene and assuming that things will be good. I mean, we benefit enormously from the dollar being the global reserve currency. Does that happen if we just withdraw into ourselves?
Like our entire economic system is like predicated on this. So it's like I agree with the sentiment. I wish things were that way, but like in policy, you have to be like very pragmatic and like unraveling that. you would need like a dictator for 60 years to even begin unraveling like how convoluted the system is. And then to Will's point, is that even something that we even want when you like really think about it? Because again, like the British basically dismantled their entire empire voluntarily, and they're significantly worse off for it. And honestly, the rest of the world is worse off for it too. Like India was faring much better under British rule. So.
And the best part was they stole the food, and now we all get to enjoy chicken tikka masala.
Yeah, they
Which was invented in Scotland, by the way.
I also adhere to the Roman tactic of dominating outside of your borders so that they don't fire intercontinental ballistic missiles at you.
Yeah, that's what we do.
It's horrible. I didn't used to think like that, but it's just inevitable.
That's what they call them. So they call them clank.
I can read this here from Randy. He says, "Greetings from Wyoming. In keeping with Tim Castro tradition, was that an autocorrect? We welcomed my first great-grandchild early this morning, a good-looking young lad. Cheers. Wow.
Let's go.
Congratulations.
4 generations. Give it up.
Welcome to the
Multi-generational living is the best.
You know what's crazy is
great-grandchild
there's this viral photo of like, it's like 7 generations of women or some insane number. And it's just like every woman had a kid when she was like 18 or 19. So it's like great, there's like the baby, then the mom, then the grandma, then the great-grandma, then the great-great-grandma, and the great-great-great-grandma, because they're all only like 18 years apart. Yeah. So it's like great-great-great-grandchild alive there, Crazy.
Love it.
That's how it used to be.
Maybe in the future with, genetic therapy, you'll be 190 and you'll be hanging out with your greatest grandchild.
Indeed. Or maybe you'll be hanging out in the uncensored portion of the show over at rumble.com/Timcast IRL coming up in about a minute or so. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Will, do you want to shout anything out?
Follow me on X at Will Chamberlain.
Yeah, follow me on X and Instagram at Real Tate Brown. And we got some interviews up on the Tate Brown Timcast channel from this week from our daily noon live show. So make sure you go check those out as well. And I'll see you guys Monday on that show live at noon on Rumble.
Follow me at Ian Crossland on Instagram, where I'm putting up covers. I just did Ryan Adams' To Be Young. Love that song. And YouTube X at Ian Crossland. Great conversation. Let's keep going. Carter Banks.
Yeah. You can follow me at Carter Banks, everywhere at Carter Banks. Official everywhere else. And also Dustin from X wanted, I promised a shout out and an update on some music stuff tonight. So me and Ian are working on a few acoustic songs, and also I've got one coming out, and you can pre-order it now at aliveordeadsong.com. Let's go.
We'll see you all over at rumble.com/Timcast IRL right now. Thanks for hanging out.